Okay, let's call ourselves to order. It's 7:06. First item on the agenda for tonight is a discussion of specifically temporary signs on that are placed on town property. The town has a new sign bylaw that was approved by the town meeting in the spring. It's still waiting, the bylaw is still waiting final approval. Has it been or no? All done? Oh, okay. Okay, so it's in effect now. And so tonight we talked about the other things, but there's a specific area that we'd like to address. So first, I'll give a little bit of background information. By the ordinance, there is can be no signs placed on telephone poles or on public rights of way or on street signs or on traffic islands.
Which has nothing to do with the new sign bylaw.
Exactly. So that's the existing situation. We have had some feedback from people in the agricultural community that have historically used, say, some of the traffic islands for Christmas tree farms, for example. And the board, I think I can speak for all of us, we don't want to impinge on the agricultural heritage, and we want to continue it, help it along for the town. So we're going to try and somehow nuance it so maybe we can do something in that situation. And there are lots of other temporary signs that end up being on public rights of way, real estate signs, and fundraisers, youth leagues, those kinds of things. And that's what we really kind of want to cut down on, but we don't want to, we're not trying to destroy anyone's business in town, but we're trying to eliminate some of those signs which are going up without approval. So that's sort of where we stand at the moment. Any other comments?
You're right. You're on target.
I would like to see that the agricultural signs or trees or strawberries or whatever it is, if a business came to the board only once, not every year, but got a one-time approval for specific seasonal signs, I would be amenable to that. And, what's the time?
And we're talking about on town property. We're
Correct.
not talking about somebody putting a sign on their property or putting a sign on another property owner's property with that property owner's permission.
Right. So we're only talking about town property.
Right away.
Well, that's a town.
Right.
Yeah, but I think we need to make a distinction on that because I don't think people understand.
In other words, the space from the street that is actually owned by next to the street that's actually owned by the town. It's not owned by the.
It's a right away.
Yeah.
If people think town-owned property, they would think in front of this building or a field or something.
That's a good distinction. Right. When I thought I looked at a lot of towns have a lot of different. Some are very hard-nosed, some are very relaxed. There's all sorts of different ideas about these things, looking at what other towns have. I'll just throw this out for sake of argument, that for specific agricultural businesses in the town, a one-time approval for up to 2 seasonal signs at different spots in the town for up to 60 days at a time. That would be my,
Okay.
my thought on that. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying that's what we have to do, but that's what.
So if one particular farm has blueberries, strawberries, tomatoes, and then Christmas trees, that would be 4 different signs. So that person would not, that farm would not.
Well, I think he said,
He said for 2 different times. He said 2 different.
In other words, if they wanted to do 60 days for
Christmas trees.
for strawberries, and they
Right.
inform us of that,
Right.
and we could sign off on all 4 seasons or whatever at one time.
Right. You want to take audience question?
Yes,
You
you have to use the mic.
You have to come up and use the microphone if you're going to
I
speak.
think we're a little too early for questions, but this might. Come on up. No, come on up.
No, we want to hear. Go
I want
ahead.
to hear what you
We
have
just
to say.
haven't even had a discussion about it yet.
I'll wait and then I'll ask all the questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait.
Yeah, I think
I
we
just want to kind of have a discussion before we can
Yep.
even go down that road. So what are we trying to, when we change things, and we probably aren't really changing things right now, we're actually making sure the current regulations that were in place happen.
Well, people are just putting them out without any permission.
Yeah,
Is what's happening
Like
now.
you mentioned earlier that this new sign bylaw has nothing to do with this. We've been just lax in just letting it happen.
right.
That's correct.
You know, because this has been in place. This has been in place all along. You're not supposed to put any signs, no matter what they are, on town-owned land, which includes the town right away.
Right. Like somebody put these FS signs all over the place. I don't even know what that is, but they were all over like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. And they're still around.
Some of them, yeah, they're still there.
Okay.
That's a good point. They never came and took them down.
Mm-hmm. So, but we're not trying to address a problem that we have with seasonal agricultural signs, because I don't think we have one.
I agree.
Right?
No, but what we want to do is eliminate. Why are we addressing that? Because that you're correct. That isn't the real problem. But the problem is, well, people say, well, you let the Christmas tree people put their signs up. Why don't we let the mattress fundraiser people put their sign up, and the kickboxing club put their sign up? And we have to say why are we giving, have we given them special treatment, or if we have to document that we have.
Not even special treatment. I think this is a good way for us, because we have the authority to take any sign down
That does not have approval.
that does not have approval, or any sign in town, right? Yeah,
If it's on our
or
property.
right away.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
So this is a way to eliminate or have a good understanding of the ones, like, we don't want to take signs down to ruin people's lives,
No.
but we have to have some place so we can take the nefarious signs down. The people are just sticking them up everywhere. You know what I mean by that? So this is a good way of documenting who's supposed to have one. Like if we see a Christmas tree sign or a strawberry sign somewhere, we go, who's sign? Oh yeah, that's right. That was approved. No big deal. But if we see the mattress one, or if we see this NF, we didn't even know what that was, and there was a bunch of them all over town. We couldn't find out if it was a road race or I don't know what it was. So that's a good way of having an understanding to make sure we can take the ones down.
Yep.
That don't belong.
Right.
But I don't want to put any undue burden or regulate our agricultural our agricultural people in town, because I mean the 24 years that I've lived in this town, I have never thought of the agricultural signs as being a burden or a nuisance, to anyone or myself in town. So I just want to make sure that's.
I totally agree. I just think that if we're going to delineate that we're going to start now no longer
having the junk signs.
tolerating junk signs around everywhere, that we have to at least have a definition of why you're leaving some other signs up, that's all.
And I would think that we should have the agricultural people just send us. I mean, how is this process going to work? I want to try to keep it as easy as possible for them, that they would send the selectmen a letter saying that, hi, thank you very much. I am XYZ Christmas Tree Farm on Main Street, and I'm going to be having a sign here, 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 and here. And if we don't get back to them, that's allowed. Or do they have to come in? Do we have to approve it? Do we have to say, oh, I want to see your sign?
Well, I think somehow
what I mean?
they need to tell us in some fashion, or ask us in some fashion. So whether it's via a letter, an email, or in person, whatever. But yeah, it should be an identified. I mean, we shouldn't say that somebody can put up 12 signs on town property. I mean, there should be some kind of
Should be some limitation.
something.
But if 12 signs, okay. But if, okay, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that one yet.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, I see.
you know what I mean by that?
I see your point of view. Yeah.
But during Christmas time, I actually like how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have one in the square, and then you have one at the end of Ash Street, and then you have one at the end of your street, and then you have one maybe on Middle Street, you could have 6 signs just because of the framework of our town, that it's really, really hard to get to someplace.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's
You know what I mean
that's
by
a
that?
good point, yeah.
You can't just have one. But then, okay, so I mean, that's one of the ones. Then we should talk about this mattress signs. You know, we've had signs out front of our building here dealing with town stuff that they were never approved. I've seen them all week long.
I've seen him very recently.
And that was town stuff. The town people organization should come too, because I think that sign in front of Town Hall right there that was blown over once and picked up, whatever that thing, I wouldn't.
Right. We didn't okay that.
No. And then those type of signs, and then we have real estate signs. And which it seems to be, in my opinion, increasing, because we had somebody here earlier at one of our other meetings. There was a real estate person here, and they were called directional signs. It's those arrows that are everywhere that Newbury Port has actually banned. That you can have a real estate sign. Well, you can have a real. Excuse me. Sorry. Thank you, Joshua. Love you. So that I think is more of a problem, having directional signs around.
Well, particularly in this day and age with the internet and GPSs and what have you. I mean, if I'm going to go to a house, and I don't know the town, I'm going to GPS it.
Mm-hmm. And again, we could not regulate those signs if they were on private property. Those are the ones that seem to be all on town property.
They're on
the
telephone poles. They're on traffic islands.
And I have no problem with somebody having one in front of the house that's for sale.
We're not getting, that's not our issue.
That's not
yeah.
town, that's
Yeah.
not town
No,
property.
but even if it was in the right of way, some of them are in the right of way.
Okay.
Some are in the right of way.
Yeah.
I would say 9 out of 10 of them are in the right of way.
Could be.
You know what I mean? They're not going to be near the house. They're closer to the street so everybody can see them.
Mm-hmm.
Those type of signs, I have no problem with. But the directional signs, I would like to address also tonight.
So my feeling on that is that, okay, if you can have a directional sign for a real estate situation, if it's an open house, it's Sunday morning, you can put it up Sunday morning, and then it's, because occasionally
I have absolutely no problem with that. I would agree with that.
people just, let's wander around Wakefield or whatever and just look at houses that might be there. So on the day of an open house, I don't have a problem with that. But but the general arrow directional signs, especially on telephone poles and stuff, no. Any comments on the,
I agree. So this is kind of formulated a general direction, I think.
Now I would actually like to hear from some people in town, because I have a couple of letters too. I met with the Christmas tree farm on Friday afternoon, that they could not be here, they're out of town, so I'd like to read that for the record, and then we have Mr. Elwell's thing too. I don't know.
I have that, yeah.
Yeah, we saw it. Sir, do you want to?
Jeb,
Want to come up?
talk?
Sure.
You have to sit here, though.
You wanna go ahead first with your letters, or?
No. Because I'm interested in what you guys have to say, because that might generate more questions. I turned it on. Thanks, guys.
So, my name's Jeb Brackville. I own a Christmas tree farm, on Crane Neck Street and some other locations here in town, so. I'm a little behind the curve, to be honest with you, though. I mean, I'm somewhat confused about, I wasn't really aware of the fact, unfortunately, that the sign bylaw had already passed, but a lot of these questions seem to be, are they regulated already within the bylaw?
One thing is very important. What we're talking about tonight has nothing to do with that sign bylaw, because agricultural signs are exempt from the sign bylaw. What
about real estate signs?
What came up?
They're not.
No, they're not. They're not.
They're
They're listed. This is different. What came up during the whole process is just signs on town land. So that was brought up to us in the process. Has nothing to do with the sign bylaw.
A related but different issue.
Because you
related
can't,
but different issue.
because nobody can put a sign on town-owned
Nobody
property
can.
legally.
That's
I get
always
it. I
been
get
that's always been the case, but nobody, you put your signs up, and Whitegate put their signs up, put them up in the square for years.
And
Elwell put his signs up, and we're not saying that shouldn't happen, but we're just saying that it's been happening, and that those people and anyone, a mattress sale for the Kentucky Youth League or whatever, if it's going to be put up in town land, it should have been all these years been approved by the Board of Selectmen.
And town-owned land includes a lot of things that people wouldn't necessarily think of, such as telephone poles that are just adjacent to the street. That's town property.
So we're not trying to restrict it in any way. We're just trying to maybe monitor it, so all the other, mattress and hot tub,
Landscape,
landscape ones that all of a sudden go up and nailed everywhere.
that's what we want to
We
regulate.
just want to have direction so we can take Gary, Bill, and whomever. Hey, listen, if you see ABC mattresses and hot tubs on sale, get rid of all those, because they weren't approved. So that's it.
The only comment I would have to offer is, you were going in a direction that makes a big difference to me in terms of how many days, how many signs. And when you mentioned 60 days and 2 signs, it differs, I think, significantly depending on the agricultural product that's available. So from my standpoint, I typically put up 4 signs. I try to cover the directions that people come from. I don't go down into the square for the simple reason that.
Can I ask your 4 signs? Are they on your property
No,
or town property?
1 on somebody else's properties, 2 on telephone poles,
They count.
3 on telephone poles.
They count.
Right,
So somebody else's property, that doesn't
Okay.
count because you need their permission.
right. So I have 3 signs that I would need to address. The only thing I would offer is, when you're wondering about how somebody is going to approach the board or how you would approve it, I can appreciate you making it easy and saying one time and you're all set, but I would suggest to you that depending on A, the location of the farm, and B, the products that they're offering, that there's a big difference in days and number of signs. Like for me, 60 days, I don't need 15 days, and I can get my signs up and down, maybe 21 days, 2 to 3 weeks. The bulk of my business is over, and so it might vary significantly by clientele.
Season of what that product is.
And how many trees you have. Some people are open 1 week or 2 weeks this year, but last year. But this year, one Christmas tree farm is going to be a good year. They're going to be opened up more because they're going to have more trees, so they're actually going to need more signage. And as soon as they're done for the season, their signs come down. It could be a week before Christmas. one year, you know what I mean? Depending on how many trees.
Right, I was just trying to start with some number that
Right,
we
and
can
I'm just
talk
saying,
about,
I
yeah.
like that avenue,
Yeah.
but there's a lot, that maybe that's a fairly complicated area, depending on who wants to put their signs up. I'm not sure if it is or it isn't, and the only other comment I would have would be that something like a mattress sale or a fundraiser or whatever, there's a big difference in terms of what one group might feel is an annoying, aggravating, ugly, whatever sign, and another group feels really contributes to the town. So, for example, if the cross-country team does a mattress fundraiser, I feel, as an agricultural person, whether that goes back to the roots of our town or not, that they have as much or more rights than I do to maybe be able to promote their thing. And I also happen to feel, as a resident and a property owner, that our school system is part of the most important part of what attracts people to our community, so that we really have to consider, just because we don't like the aesthetic nature of the sign, that one group like myself doesn't get favorable treatment versus another group who actually really is contributing to the community. And we're not taking that into
Okay,
That's a
hold on for
good
second.
point.
I have to actually, I want to, do you mind, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with you 100%. That's my biggest thing. Everybody needs to be treated fair. So I want to make sure, because to define what I said, when I was thinking about that, when you get off like in Byfield, right, at the exit, sometimes there's just those mattresses or hot tub things. You know what I mean? Those just generic ones. Those are the kind of ones that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the ones that are for fundraisers for the school, the Pawtucket Education Foundation, the Pawtucket Arts Foundation, for football or wrestling or anything like that. I think you're right. Everybody should be treated exactly the same. When I was making reference to the mattress sales and stuff, you just see those.
Okay, so having said that, where does it end? Like, who's to say that, well, your charity is someone else's annoyance? You know, it's a very, there's a lot of things that people go, well, my road race is really important. It helps people in Ghana or something. You know, it can go on forever. Where do we draw the line?
But that's why I started off this whole conversation by what are we trying to fix, if anything? So
Right. Is there a problem?
That's part of what my question is.
Is there a problem that we need to have fixed? And I would say the only one that I see are the ones that, I don't know how the heck they get them up there, but those people that come on about having their house pressure washers, those generic ones, and they're so far up on the telephone pole, and there's landscapers, and I think they just throw away some. They pay some kids just to put them up everywhere on the North Shore, and whatever ones stick.
Right.
But I don't see a problem. But all I have to say is everyone should be treated fair. I would agree with that. Any organization that.
Okay, Glenn, so having said that, is there an unlimited number of signs that a particular, this is a great fundraiser, so they can put up 180 signs?
Well, I think it's.
What's the answer to that?
Well, my answer is, Jen, don't quote me. Right?
You're on TV.
Oh, it's being recorded. But I think it goes.
You're live on
we
TV.
all have to be rational individuals, right? And whoever said this a bunch of times? I don't know what pornography is, but I know it when I see it. Somebody said that, right? I forgot. What? Martha Stewart.
Not Martha.
I was gonna say Martha Stewart, right? Right? But that's what I mean. So we know it when we've seen it. We know when we see it, and it won't happen. So if everything has to be approved, and we make sure the local farms and so forth and so on, we don't put them through an onerous thing to do it. And the Pawtucket cross-country team wants to have, which they did, have a mattress sale, and they had some on people's front lawns. If they want to do that, they would ask us, and and then the first question was, sure, how many are you going to put up and where? We just want to put 2 up somewhere, and that's it. But that's what I mean. We haven't. Have we seen it?
Well, yeah, we get complaints, that's why we're addressing this issue, is that it seems to be getting worse. People just putting things up without asking, and you just mentioned one, there was a whole bunch of those NF signs, so
Okay.
how do we address that?
So
Maybe
it's very simple.
maybe
Every sign that goes up on town-owned land has to be approved by us, or it's gonna be taken down. And then any agricultural, thing gives us one letter without any restrictions, right?
A letter with a general time frame that it's gonna be.
A letter with a general time frame and how many signs we're gonna put up once a year,
Right, and then it's ongoing.
and that's it. I think Mr. Chairman Mike wants to be recognized.
As a general policy, I think you want to avoid what's called content-based analyzation, meaning we like these signs because they say this, and we don't like those signs.
We can't do that.
Well, you're kind of doing it if you say we can have this and that.
No, I'm just saying that, what I was saying that all town has to be approved, so
Yeah.
it goes to the thing when they come to us and say, well, how many did you want to put up? We wanted to put 150 up down Main Street. We say, I'm sorry, that's not.
And I think that there are other policies that can be in play here. For example, with regard to Christmas tree farms or agricultural farms, which are available and selling product, on a seasonal basis, you can make some that their directional aspects, are a public safety issue. Is that they can, they direct people to that so that people aren't distracted, and it actually helps the public from that aspect of it. And that's not based on content. That's based on the effect that they would have. And you want people, especially in the Christmas tree farms, which we know generate a lot of traffic, you want a lot of cars, people coming here for the first time, not knowing the area, not knowing what street to go down. It actually has an important public safety aspect to it. Same thing can be with regard to open house signs. People looking for it, they see the sign, they might not know where a particular street is, and even if you have GPS, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. So, but on that one, you can regulate and say, look, it has a public safety issue, so you're able to find people will be able to find it during the time of your open house, but you don't need it otherwise. So on the day, so you give permission to say, okay, you can put up your open house signs, directional signs on that day, but you have to take them down that day because obviously your purpose doesn't exist anymore when you don't have an open house. And with regard to the individuality, that's the one thing you could also approve. Is that, okay, you have this farm, which is Crane Neck Farm. Well, they need a sign, at Crane Neck and Main Street, maybe at, Georgetown and, Mud Point. That helps them, and so each agricultural use might have different, ones that you would approve. And essentially, so you can have just a general policy that they're all prohibited unless they are approved. And then you base your approval on these other factors such as improving public safety and direction and the like.
Well, that's what I thought I said.
He said it better.
Well, of course, because he's a lawyer and nobody understands what he says. But I understand that. But all signs have to be approved by the Board of Selectmen if they're going to be in the public way.
But instead of having to say, okay, they're going to be 60 days, something like that, you just have each person, like in the farm, say, okay, send us a letter, what you want.
Where the sign is and for what time it's going to be there.
Exactly.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have to keep a folder of them.
And I would agree with Chairman Archibald, though, on the real estate signs, that the open house signs are okay for when they're there, but like the directional signs that are screwed to telephone poles that have been there for a year after the house is no longer for sale.
But I wouldn't say that, but I would just say all the because then
they're
say,
prohibited.
We'll take them down.
Yeah, that would
I
fit
went
under.
around town. There's 1,000, and you're right. Things are increasing.
That would fit under what Mike just said. All signs on town-owned property are prohibited unless they're approved.
Right.
So they're not approved.
But you can get a general approval, so a real estate broker can come in and say, I'd like to be able to put up directional
Open
signs
house
during the day of an open house.
Yep.
And you can say, okay, you're allowed to do that as long as you put them up during the day, take it down.
Which is what they do.
They do. Most of the time,
for open houses.
Yeah. And if everyone knows the rules, then they follow them.
Okay.
So we have to draw up the rules. And they need to be clear, and they need to be concise, so everybody has to understand them, and everybody has to be informed. And the people that do it, and in town government, so when somebody calls, it's very specific. So there's no ambiguity at all.
Is there anybody else in the audience that want to make a comment about signs? I don't know why you're here, you know, what topic
Are
you're
you
here
are you all here for a selectmen's meeting?
We're here for the signs.
Signs?
For the signs?
Did you have a comment about it?
I got a question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Come up, sir. Because there are multiple meetings going on, and sometimes people sit in on this and they think they're at a conservation commission meeting.
We live on Roger Street, and family owns the Artichoke Dairy Farm.
Glad you came.
They're
Yes.
open all year, so he's selling eggs and milk.
Yep,
His
raw
signs
milk.
are-
Yep.
Yep.
He has 4 signs. I think one is at Scotland Road, putting people onto Turkey Hill. South Street. Then as you come up Turkey Hill towards the farm, there's one that shoots you onto Roger Street.
Okay, I know where,
on
yeah.
Scotland Road. Then on the Garden Street is one that pushes you.
So whose property are these signs on?
These are on the town.
They all are on town property.
The right of way. I know that it's town property, but I think it's a lot easier for people to understand it when they say right of way.
I mean,
Yeah, because
you know
people would
it's
think,
town property.
yep,
So there's one on South Street, there's one on this side of Roger Street,
One each end.
and one on Garden Street.
Now, was the one at the island at 113 Garden Street.
Right, yeah, on the little island,
It's on the island.
yeah.
But he's year round, so he's not seasonal.
I mean, I don't know if he knew that he had to go and get this permit, but he's been there for years, so.
Yep.
and quite honestly, he might have even talked to a selectman 20-something years ago, or something like that, and they gave him approval.
Which
They,
which one person can't do, but yeah.
they came to a selectmen's
Okay,
meeting.
so
I don't
we
even,
wanna make it right, so.
we don't even know that,
Can
so.
we write a letter stating where all these signs are?
Well, that's what we're trying to.
That's what we're trying to
That's what we're
figure,
trying to decide.
yeah.
I just wanna find out that we
Yeah.
can take
That's
care
what
of
we're trying to
the
decide.
whatever way you want. That's all I can say.
See, this is a unique situation,
Yes, it is.
right?
Yes, it is.
Which I don't want to fringe upon
I would agree.
one single bit
Yeah.
about local agriculture, local sustainability, and so forth and so
Right,
on.
because
and so on.
it's non-seasonal.
And he's right. I mean, I've walked on the.
Has the sign at 113 in Garden Street, how long has that been there?
It's been there so long.
Years,
It's years.
years.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
no,
what I
It's been
wanted.
there so long. It
That's
doesn't
what-
stick out anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I mean by that? That's how. Yeah, you don't even see it anymore. I'm trying to picture.
No,
it in
it's,
my head. I've gone
I'm
by it.
trying to think back, it's been there a long time,
Okay,
yeah.
that's what I wondered. Okay.
That is normal. I don't think what we're here for.
No, it's not.
See,
So,
I think we need to think reasonably, and I like to think that we represent people in the town. And if I went and polled a number of people in town, they would say, Glenn, that's not what we want the selectmen to do with signs. We want to keep things like that, to keep the rural character up. We want you to get rid of all these paper signs and all these other directional real estate signs.
right, and that's what we're talking about. So why don't we just do what Mike said or suggested, that you need a one-time approval, include the time frame. Artichoke Dairy would say all the time. They're probably the only ones that would say that, and just go with that.
And how do we convey that message to people? I think we might need a.
Well, we wrote them a letter, and we did have a couple of people come. I mean, there's nobody, I don't think, here from the real estate community. I could be wrong.
Chris,
What company? think we sent a letter to Remax. We sent it to the company, not to every individual realtor. So
Remax was on the list.
Remax was on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, actually I have there's a Remax sign. I don't know whose it is. It's on a telephone pole around the corner from me. It's been there for it's screwed on. It's been there for a really long time, and there's no house for sale. So I don't know whose sign it is.
Okay, so.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah, I
put this to
want
a conclusion,
I
yeah.
want a conclusion of some good things. So do we have Mike write up something, have him do another thing that we've asked him to do?
We just need a motion, basically what Mike said.
Yeah, I mean, basically, my aspect would be is very simple, is that all signs, no signs are permitted on town property without the approval of the Board of Selectmen. Individual applicants, can apply to the Board of Selectmen stating, the number of signs and the time and the reason why they should. And then,
Okay.
so I mean, because basically the general rule is they're prohibited unless they're approved. So basically people have to go.
But in that, can we make a few,
You don't have to, I mean, the idea
but
is.
I would like, so I don't want every single if we're gonna say no to every directional realtor sign, I don't think it's fair for every realtor person to come and ask us. Do you know what I mean by that? I don't think it's fair to have them do all that work. I mean, there's a few of them that we're gonna say no to right off the bat. I don't think it's fair for every realtor to come. And I think we need to outline a few things that we've already going to say. I would think, right?
Okay, I mean, so like agricultural and realty
Nonprofit.
and any other one. Well, I mean, nonprofit, again.
See, again, you can't get into the content so much, yeah.
I mean,
I'm not talking about
the reason is you're saying it's because it improves public safety and informing the public as to.
Yeah, but then a realtor, when I was listening to you, if I was a realtor, I would say a directional sign, without a doubt, helps public safety in the same way that.
And that's why they're permitted, but they only need them during the open house. Don't need them the day before because. Yeah,
but a realtor sign that has a directional thing, if I live in Burlington and I'm coming up here and I'm looking for Remax house for sale that I saw on MSL listing. And then I said, oh yeah, you take there's a sign.
Yeah, but
there's directional that I take it right on the
open house.
Okay.
You are directing more than just a occasional travel thing. You're trying to direct a number of people.
Okay, that's fair. I'm being the devil's advocate. They're trying to work it out.
I'm just asking this in a legal question. Do we have the authority to allow a sign to be put on a telephone pole when it's Verizon's property?
Probably not. No, it's Verizon's pole. It's not your pole. And we've given, and that pole has been permitted by you as part of their approval process. Remember, every time someone puts a pole in,
they have to come in here and
they have to come in here. So it's still their property.
I would say no signs on any telephone poles. We can't even say that because they're not our poles, but I would like to make sure, if nothing else, that there are no signs permitted on telephone poles.
I think there's.
But you guys put them on.
I think Christmas tree signs go there.
I mean, the idea is you can give them permission to put them on your town property, and then they can take the risk of, you can tell them, go get permission from.
Or not, or just keep doing it.
Or not.
We seem to try. We're trying to make this easier, and it seems to be.
Well, I shouldn't have thrown that out, but I just.
Because we always do this, and we always go, what if, and we never get anything done.
Yeah, we can't give people permission to put things on telephone. You have permission. You can give permission to put them on town property. If they put them on a telephone pole, then they run the risk that the Verizon will come in and say,
that's between them and Verizon.
It has nothing to do with us, and it's not like we're going to make a phone call and tell Verizon.
Right.
Can I just, are you talking about real estate?
Telephone, microphone.
Sorry. Are you talking about real estate agents coming forward with every single time they're gonna have an open house?
Or do they come once
No,
a year
no.
and say,
No,
we're
no,
working in
no.
your town and we're gonna have open houses sometimes?
We're talking about like one time that maybe carries through for 5 years or
For
something,
5
yeah,
years or something.
whatever.
Just so they can, so those real estate people would understand if we do have any regulations, like, hey, this is just for the open house, it's just for directional signs, we give you that permission, but it has to be taken down after, the open house is over. Just so people on both.
Kind of a generic approval for.
Yeah, so then
Right.
people have a good understanding of what we approve and what we don't approve of.
Christy, do you want to say something?
My question was.
Sorry about this, but people at home won't hear the
It's not
question.
for us,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then we're answering, and they're going, what are they answering?
Then they call Glenn and
Yeah, and they yell at me.
So just to be clear, if you wanna have open houses, you come once and get permission, or there's just a general?
Right.
Well, or with regard to real estate, you might just make it just a general rule that, and just send the general rule out to everyone that,
Yeah.
you know, because obviously, you know.
There's a
with
general
open houses-
rule that we.
an hour before and after, within
that
an hour.
What that real
Well,
estate
an hour
signs
is
will be one
really too
sign
tight,
in front of the
the
house
same
that's
day.
for sale, like the one we all grew up with.
Well,
You know,
that's
that
when
one
they-
sign in front of
They come
somebody's
to the
house.
open house.
And
they put
then
the
you
sign
can
up,
have
they do the
directional
2 hours, then
signs
they
for
take
open
the sign down and
houses,
go to the next
but then
one.
they have to be taken down afterwards. We could just send that directive out to all real estate
Right,
people, so they don't have to come in.
Every real estate agent doesn't have to come and get permission.
And that directive also needs to state that we are now prohibiting the use of those directional signs that are all around town, the same way Newburyport has.
So let me not actually make a motion, but if a motion would be something along the lines of all signs are prohibited on town property without approval. We heard what we said about the agricultural. They can come one time, location, the time, you know, the days.
Well, anyone can come, we said.
Anybody,
Yeah.
time and right, yeah,
The
anybody.
soccer team, whatever.
Right, and the only exception is real estate open house signs an hour before or after the actual published open house time.
I wouldn't say no.
An hour is too,
I would say
same
no,
day.
just the day of.
Okay,
They have to be up and down the same day.
okay.
So my second question is, if Verizon owns the telephone poles, then obviously you could go to Verizon and ask for permission.
But
And you can't do anything about that if they give permission.
I don't know, it's on,
It's
it's
still
on,
on
it's on town property. You'd actually have to have permission from both, I think, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You need permission, well, their telephone pole
on our
is on
property.
our property. So we can't give permission to put something on their telephone pole, and they can't give permission to put something on their telephone pole the same way, because their telephone pole is on town property. And we have, every time they put up a telephone pole, they have to come in to us for an approval. Like, if you see down Main Street, they changed the height of them, going around Craven's Corner, going down there, they had to come in approval, or anytime they want to put a new one in town, they have to have approval. So, in part of that whole approval process is that, you know, they can't put signs or whatever on their poles.
So one of the reasons why they put signs on the telephone poles is because they get stolen very easily.
They get what?
The signs get stolen very easily, so
Yeah.
when you put them up high on the telephone poles,
Well, why don't they take them down?
well, they should.
They
But
don't.
my next comment is, the sign that you mentioned that's been near your house for a long time, the person probably totally forgot it's there, you might wanna just call them and tell them it's there.
Okay.
Yeah, which is true, but that's not our responsibility.
Right, but no, I'm just saying, he's annoyed with that.
No, I understand.
And I'm sure the person probably forgot it was there. Those signs are very expensive, so most brokers don't want to lose their signs.
And we don't want to tear them down, even though we know they're in violation too, because there is some type of, you know, we want you to sell homes in town, you know, but I mean, there has to be a happy medium. So, I mean, this isn't the first time this has come up. This has come up before when I was on the board with 2 other people, and that's how, when Mike made the determination, because another selectman questioned the fact that if the selectmen have the right to take down signs that are in town property that were not approved, and then Mike came back and said yes. So if we could have the DPW or whomever go around and just pull everybody's signs up if we wanted to right now. So we
Yeah,
have that
I'm not
authority.
gonna call somebody who has a sign up on a pole.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just saying.
When-
I'm hoping it's not one of my husbands, but I will maybe have him go over there and check. So
on Cherry Hill
that's
Street.
my next question. So what is happening to the signs? And
The real estate signs?
Yeah, if there are someplace
I-
where they're not supposed to be.
The current signs that are up?
Yeah.
Well, we're not, I would hope that after we've been pretty reasonable, that everybody polices themselves and we don't have to spend taxpayers' money to go around taking all the violations down. Hopefully, I'm hoping that this all works itself out and people are respectful, and because we're being respectful, and it all just works its way out, that we don't have to go around tomorrow and waste a couple of hours tearing everybody's signs down.
Well, that was my point. It's in effect now, but I think a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, so we're not going, I would hope that we're not gonna have like a police state, and, after we leave the meeting, us three are gonna run around town and pull them all out. I like to hope
It would be fun, though.
But I would like to hope that it just all works its way out and everybody's, adults, and we just take care of it the way it needs organically. I was hoping I was gonna be able to work that word in sometime tonight.
Okay, have we come to, we
Why don't you give the motion then, Joe?
signed off on this?
So I move to prohibit all signs on town-owned property without prior approval. Prior approval would need, if they're ongoing seasonal signs, or if they're not, but either way.
Why don't you just keep it?
Just keep it simple,
Like that.
yeah.
Let's keep it like the first sentence, and so when the Christmas tree people come in, we could just say, hey, this is what it's about.
Right, so they would have to say the location, time, or days, and reason for their sign.
What I would like,
And real estate signs, with the exception of open house signs for the day of the open house, are okay. Open house signs are okay.
and the ones that are in front of the people's homes.
Yeah, well, open
The
house
standard
signs.
real estate.
The open house ones and the standard ones, because those are in town land too.
Right.
Wait, now the most important thing is that, second, now for discussion.
Discussion?
The most important thing is we get to do things like this, and then we get to walk away and go to our jobs, and then Mary and gets all the phone calls, and so let's make sure we have this thing perfectly written down. When somebody calls, she can have an answer to it. Because it's not fair then to put these guys on the front line. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You wanna write it up and give to Mary?
Yeah.
Just so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we put it on the website.
We put it on the website.
Well, and I think we should also put it on our use of facilities form. It's on the special event form. It is not on the use of facility form. So I would further amend that motion to add to put that language on the use of facility form.
So when the chess club asks to use the annex,
Yep, they have to have, yep.
and they say, in part of that,
Anybody.
yeah, no, but I know, I just saw the chess club out this weekend. So they would say, hey, on one line would be, we're going to put a directional sign out just for the event on the street so people know where it is. They were moved down to the town hall, I think, from over here because there was a function here. So it was over there over this weekend. So I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that okay to add that,
Is
Mary?
that okay?
On the form? Okay. Well, that took a long time.
And the Wake Great Christmas Tree Farm basically just said the same thing as what Jeff said, just to have it reasonable. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could, is the whole bicentennial committee here? No, I mean,
As we could,
no, I'm talking about everybody here that's gonna be here tonight. Mr. Chairman, I would ask that, we're on number 1 and then number 4, since they're all here, and the other ones I don't think might. aren't gonna have
Is
people
there anyone here with a facilities request?
item number 2.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
We should do that.
we should do that then. Come on up.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just want to make a general comment on use of facilities. That, and I know we've said this, but I just want to restate it, that every group should be treated exactly the same in terms of what's required, and those things are clearly spelled out on the special event form. So I think the things that are spelled out there, we should abide by, and not, they apply to everybody.
Okay.
I'm not saying we don't, I'm just saying it's spelled out, so let's apply
Hi,
that.
thanks for coming in. And you're?
My name's Ellie Davis.
Hi.
Hi. I'm from Nourishing the North Shore.
You're from where, man?
Nourishing the North Shore. We actually work with the monks up on
Okay.
to manage their gardens and use some of their land for them. As the number of monks have decreased who live up on the farms themselves, we help them with that, and then we distribute food from monks' gardens as well as other gardens to folks in the community who are in public housing or food banks. We actually give produce to the food bank here in West Newbury to folks that have limited access to fresh produce. So we're requesting, as we did last year, to have our harvest party up on the monks' property on October 5th, and we are requesting a one-day liquor license. The Ipswich Tapmobile has agreed to come and help us with fundraising. They give us a percentage of the profit from the alcohol that they sell, and they come with a bartender and have.
So that was one of the questions I would.
Sure.
Yeah. So this is for sale.
Right.
It's not
that's
for
the only. Right. That's for sale with a bartender who is
a certified bartender.
Yep. We did this event last year as well, and you generously approved it.
I remember. So what were the questions I asked the road race people?
Did anybody invited to this?
Yes, we invite our volunteers.
No, but like, I could go? I mean, is it open to the public?
No, it's an invited event. We would love to invite you if you'd like to come.
No, I was just curious.
No, it's
I don't
an
know where-
invitation event because it's.
This must have never got to us last year.
No,
Yes,
weren't.
we,
I think
it
we
absolutely,
I
it
think you
absolutely
weren't here.
did,
You
yes.
may not have been here. I
Yeah,
think there were
okay.
only two
Yes,
of
it
you here.
did.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yes.
this sounds really, really interesting.
No, we did.
Yes, at the end of the year, we invite our volunteers, some of our donors. We invite folks who receive food from us when the monks come, the brothers come, and we have a celebration of our year. Last year, we distributed about 9,000 pounds of produce, and this year we're probably going to get close to 15,000 pounds that we've distributed to the folks in the area.
I think you said this. I missed it though. So
That's okay.
where does is it beer or wine?
Yes,
Where
it's
does
beer.
where does that come from?
Ipswich, the Ipswich
Oh,
Ale,
it's
Ipswich Brewing Company.
it's
Ipswich Bureau Company.
They have a truck.
They have
Yeah.
a truck that comes that's refrigerated and it's like, almost like, just call it an ice cream.
Kegs.
okay. So they're the ones that are doing the
Right.
selling.
Yes.
Okay.
Like an
Yes.
ice cream truck, so they
Right.
come and then they.
So they actually brew it, so it's coming from them.
Yes,
okay.
from their
Got
brewery.
you.
Correct.
That answers that. Okay.
I make a motion to approve the one-day liquor license for Thursday, October 5th.
For Ellie Davis.
Yes.
Second.
Discussion?
Can we waive the fee? Is it a nonprofit seems to be doing wonderful things for our community?
What's the fee?
Is there a fee?
I didn't put one on there, I wasn't sure how you wanted to proceed.
So that I would actually ask for
That's fine.
the amendment that we
That's fine.
waive the fee,
Okay.
if there was, so it's documented.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
So do you want to skip the rest? There's no one else for use of facility, so we could skip the rest and then come back.
Come back, okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'd make a motion that we take the update from the bicentennial committee out of order.
Okay.
Yes.
Lucky you. You can pull another seat up. You can all three of you come on up.
I'm good.
Just speak loud.
I'll be supportive.
Oh, 4 seat, perfect.
Oh.
So is Beyonce coming?
February. I haven't heard from Danny. He's a friend of mine, so
So why don't we ask,
Yeah.
ask them to come in, why don't you, we just kinda ask, right?
Yeah, we'd just like to have a, update in terms of what we might need to know in terms of budgeting and just,
Helping
giving.
planning.
What
Yeah.
you put together, where you're at,
I can do that
what
for
your
you.
thinking is.
Yeah,
Great.
The committee has met very regularly, and it's a committee that you'd be proud of. The things that have been accomplished so far is to set certain dates in stone. February 23rd, 2019, which is the Saturday after February 19th, 2019, is a date that we're going to celebrate the town's bicentennial, which will initiate, a 6 to 8 month long celebration. On the 23rd of February, we intend to have a black tie affair. We've had so much support for it. We're very concerned that the Old Town Hall will not be sufficient, but we have a lot of other venues that we're looking into that are very close by. I'd rather have it in town, but if we get that kind of support, which I kind of know we will, we'll have it there. The committee is very, very understanding, and our whole, I'm not getting a good word, but we want to make sure we include all of the town citizens and all generations of all ages. So we've spent time with Cristal and
Different events that appeal to different demographics.
exactly. We don't want to have a black tie affair for a few of us old people that think it's really cool. It will be. I don't want to go into too many details, but we got ideas on exactly how these kind of celebrations will work, and we're looking at venues. I've been with the Pentucket school system to make sure that not only for that date, but the 10th through 14th of July, which is what we've designated as the homecoming weekend, but it's really a week, and as somebody mentioned, we've contacted certain celebrities and people to see if they'd like to participate. We don't have the exact agenda. We don't even want it yet for that week, but we've made it very clear to players that have already responded to Casey's the committee's very, very dedicated efforts to contact the committees, the I don't know what I'm trying to say, the garden club, the historical society, go on and on.
All the boards and committees in town that
all of them,
that have given.
And we've gotten to all the ones that we can think of. We're still very actively looking for people we've missed. We've got a lot of responses, and we're going to get more and more. So, and Mary suggested that Memorial Day parade, and it's pretty much a no-brainer. We've already got people wanting to make floats and so forth.
For 2019.
This is all 2019. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about any
if
other
you
time.
Could send that.
Except I got to Fenway Park, and I got into the innards of the people that sell the tickets, and we're talking about, and I don't care when it is, as long as it's between February 23rd and September when we bury the time capsule. And maybe try to get the governor here and things like that. We're trying to
have a West Newbury Day at Fenway Park. Is that where you're going with that?
Absolutely, and they suggested that I have a way of just talking with these nice people, and she said, I will talk with you, and you should send a van of 20 of you guys, and I know I can get 20 down in 2018, you know, a year before, so that we can get on their regular list and understand what it's about. So basically there, I don't want to, I'm spending too much time on Fenway Park night, but you know, I'm looking at a couple of buses coming out of West Newbury for a night, and we're talking about all
The
kinds.
selectmen
I
throwing
have
out the
5
first
levels
pitch.
of costs for different dates, and
The selectmen throwing out the first pitch.
the selectmen are charged double, but they can do all the special stuff
By then, I'll
that
have
they
to have
want
lost
to do.
120 pounds to get into that black tux that I have
Can
in my closet.
You know, this is why we're way ahead of the curve.
Thanks for thinking
Because
about my.
I don't have 120, but I've got about 10 that I'm going
Thanks
to
for
need.
thinking about me. So
Yeah,
I can buy a new one.
you know, it's all about you, Glenn. And now I'm losing my.
So is there any budgeting? Things?
Yeah,
I think
so-
Budgeting is
Like for this
very,
year.
very important. I want to talk to you about one thing with budgeting because it comes up, but we're very smooth about evading budgeting with the different garden clubs and historical societies. But let's talk about history for a minute because that's important, very important. And there are certain members of the committee that are looking at, you know, how we got to where we were in 1819, that there are people that have looked back at the different celebrations that we've had at 50 and 100 and 150, and I would use the words, but I'm not smart enough to remember what they all are, you know, sesquicentennial, you know. And so what we're doing is I was contacted through Mary by a publishing company. Now the publishing company really is irrelevant, but they certainly got me going, and they sent us some beautiful books that they've done for many communities. The books are, you know, on first glance they're elegant, but after I spent a good deal of time, not major, believe me, not major, but some time looking through them, you know, they're a very good college yearbook or something like that. And my attitude, and that's just personally, Steve, you know, is that we're going to bother doing anything like that, it should be much better than that. So I'm in the process, and we're really current right now. I'm in the process of finding out who in town. One of the major expenses in publishing a book like that is to hire a historian if we don't have one in the town. I want to know right now who in the town not only is a historian, but wants to give them themselves and their time to document the history of West Newbury. If there are people like that, and I'm not looking for anything from anybody right now because
Names not even. Well, I can
if
tell
you
you
have
one.
some, if you have
Well,
some,
Jane Wilde.
Jane Wilde is right on, you know.
Yeah,
Right.
she's the one who wrote the book.
I
with,
understand Jane.
Susan Follensby.
And I have only been.
Might be like 3 people. Her, maybe Bob James, Susan, and Rick
Rick
Thurlow.
Thurlow.
So thank
probably
you.
those. Yeah,
But-
probably you might instead of one, you might want like a little.
You know, the reason I preface this by saying that we're right in the process because those names are all what's going on.
So you don't see any budgeting for the spring.
You mentioned budgeting, and that's why we started. The only thing I got this particular publishing company, which I in no way think we should go with, and I actually in no way think we should do this.
Yeah.
The committee, our next meeting is going to be a very long one, and we're going to do timelines, and we are going to discuss this particular issue. I took the salesperson and made him tell me everything he didn't want to. They don't want to tell you how much it costs. They don't want to tell you about blah, blah, blah. But I did. I broke it down, and to get 1,000 copies of a really well done book is going to be about $30,000. You know, 500 copies isn't that much less. It's like 25,000 and all. A lot of that cost as a historian that we would have to hire. Now, I want to work further. I don't want to report anymore. I just want to tell the town that we're working on this.
Can we get and I know things are going to be added, and I know things are going to not materialize, but can kind of a recap of what you just said, maybe kind of a draft schedule?
Tonight? No.
No, in the next couple of
You
weeks.
can have that in 30 to 60 days.
Yeah, the next couple of weeks.
So are there any things that you would think would be useful in terms of fundraising for the overall thing, or that the town could, I don't know, anywhere from little stickers on cars to
I think one of the,
shirts, or I don't know, just any kind of tchotchkes that are.
the big thing that's gonna be expensive is actually the week in July, where we're planning on having events sort of throughout the whole week. And Steve's already talked to the fire department about hosting the big picnic at Pipestave Hill, and
Get
the
the
whole
picture.
thing. And yeah,
You ever seen the picture of
Yeah,
the 19th?
yeah.
I have one, actually, I found it in Amesbury.
But Chief Dwyer is very much, he was ahead of me. How you do that, but he was way ahead of me. And we're looking for a muster with some very serious competition among the local towns. We don't have commitment yet, but we feel that the fire department is going to work with us very closely.
So just our point being is that it sounds like it's a long time away. So we want to do
It's
everything.
not a long time away.
No,
It's
we
right
want to do
on top
everything
of
in
our
It's
head.
not,
2019.
no.
So you guys have to come up with some town budgeting things for spring town meeting.
Right.
So then the money can start being used that July, because
You're going to need this
Or-
before the year. Yeah.
and then supplement maybe at the fall town meeting if we find we need more money, because things are gonna be paid, because things are gonna be kicked off. So that's all we just wanna be a partner with you in that, and just keep us abreast, and we'll do whatever.
And
we can.
it's also
I have
easier
to
to
tell
ask
you-
for 20,020 rather than maybe 50 at once. So,
Right.
yeah.
We're talking about not asking for anything at special town meeting, because that's not what
Well,
this
it'll be
is
spring,
for.
this spring.
In this spring, we will have a very, very, very specific budget request for you.
Oh, terrific.
Okay. That's what-
outlining
that's what-
exactly what we
That's
want.
what we anticipate. We didn't expect something for October,
And
no.
Andy,
And,
what's a good time of doing that? When you say specific, would people think,
You don't need it in
annual-
April, you need it in January.
Yeah. So we start our budgeting like in January and February at the latest, because it goes to FinCom around them. So our cycle is like at the end of January, right? They would need some type
So-
of budgeting so we could
so-
stick it into the.
So we should talk in December, because when you
Yeah.
come in, there might be questions.
Right? Is that right, Andy?
That's correct.
Because everybody always thinks of it's so far away because it's
April isn't really April.
Yeah, April's really not April, because Andy will start doing the budget with them in November, December.
January.
Yeah, January.
That's perfect. That's
So,
Okay.
so we should talk in December so that we can finalize the
That's
budget
perfect.
request in January.
It's absolutely perfect, because that's right in our timeline. That's
Perfect.
absolutely perfect.
Okay.
And even if we decide to do, some really beautiful historical publication, that's in our timeline too.
Would you be selling those?
Oh, yeah.
No, okay.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
just need some seed
In
money.
fact, almost everything that we're looking at, we're looking at funding. We're not looking at the town paying for it. But there will be a few things.
You need seed money.
look-
Get things going.
Well, I
And we
mean,
might want a
even
little
like,
more than seed money for this book, depending on what the town decides we'd like to do with it. Because we could give it to other towns, we could copies in libraries, we could give it to, there's a million things you guys don't know better than I do, that we can do with the book.
I would buy them. I mean, you would want one too.
We but if we're gonna do it, we don't want just a pictorial history of West Newbury, because West Newbury's really got pictorial histories. I mean, it's never been put together like we're talking about. But if we go a little further with it than that, it would be a really well done book, because we have very bright people. We have a lot of historians. Even the Garden Club. I mentioned it to the Garden Club. I mentioned the historical site. They all go nuts. They all go, yeah.
No, it's something that I think we should do. It's
And
something
we've
that
talked to
maybe we put in
these
that
groups,
capital.
and they want to do it.
So one other thing that I could, or the cable committee could do, because we've had some initial conversations about this, doing something. I know there are something, but we could do some type of program that might be in parallel with that book or something like that, and be able to put it on our cable access channel or something like that.
Keep thinking in that direction, Glenn. That is what we need. We might need a few thousand, 5, 10 for for that specific reason if we decide.
Well, that can come out of the
other
cable.
reasons. Okay.
We have money for those type of things in the cable money already. That doesn't have to be approved at town meeting or so forth.
Beautiful. I didn't even know that.
For public access, for something like that. So I'm looking to. I had a conversation this weekend about with somebody about stuff like that.
One of the things that we're trying to talk to various groups about, like the Garden Club and historic groups, we're planning certain events that are just the committee's planning. But there are other things that the Garden Club might do, the Historic Commission might do, the library might do, the schools might do, that really we wouldn't be planning these things, but they're all part of the bicentennial celebration. And so we need to make sure that they're publicized, that people understand that this is part of the
There should be a
bicentennial
calendar, like
celebration.
a night with the historical
we're a
committee.
sort of a place to go to promote your event, and we should be helping them to promote that. And that's exactly like the calendar, the cable TV, whatever, to make sure that people understand that these things are going on. That that the bicentennial committee didn't necessarily organize this event or plan it or whatever, but it's part of the whole bicentennial celebration.
Like during that week, it could be like a sponsored whatever at with the historical committee that week, at that night, a talk about something, a lecture, or the Garden Club could give the history of what they've done.
So it needs to be sort of a clearinghouse for all the different kinds of things that might be going on, so that people are aware. This is part of the bicentennial celebration.
One very last thing is we've made it very clear to all the different groups we've talked to so far, and we got more, that this is not a a 2-date event. It's an 8-month-long event. It's from February 23rd right into the fall. And if anybody, if John Cena wants to come and put on a big celebration for a weekend, we'll help him plan it. If the Garden Club wants to put on, and they're going to, a spectacular tour.
I want to make sure this is public. If I pass by, if I die before 2019 September.
We promise that on the Memorial Day celebration, you will be mentioned. You will be mentioned.
In the capsule. I give you permission to put my ashes.
I can't promise that much, but you will be mentioned.
No, it's a lot smaller when you burn up.
I don't.
Actually, Christelle couldn't be here tonight, but she's a teacher at Page School, and she's very interested in getting the school kids involved in as many of these things as she possibly can. And of course, the time capsule is an obvious thing to get the school kids involved in. That's a great idea. What's important now in 2019, and what do you want to leave as your legacy for
that's important.
Either 2059 or
even
we're thinking way ahead here.
Or even how education has evolved in this town at the beginning, or even like that. There used to be a high school across the street from where I live on Marshall Drive. There used to be a high school there that then was condemned, and then they had to send all the kids to Newbury. But it's just fascinating how education evolved and how part of Newburyport then came back here.
Okay.
I think Mr. McCarron had a comment.
Yeah.
This is for the committee. Just the Historical Commission has recently been, gone through the request for proposal for the inventory of historic houses, and so they've selected a historian who's going to be doing basically the history of all these houses. And it's more than just, this house was built then and something like that. They're going to include the events and everything that are happening in West Newbury during this time. So if you're looking for someone there's going to be a pair, actually, it's a group, who are going to be doing vast amounts of historical research on West Newbury over the next 9 months. They're going to be starting right away, and by May or June, they will have completed it. So,
And that was $25,000, so that wasn't cheap. So it's going to be a pretty comprehensive thing.
right. And so if you're looking for somebody to do it, there's going to be some people are going to be very educated and also very experienced.
And that's coming from the historical committee. That's Bob James. You might want to talk to him. And the town already appropriated $25,000 at town meeting. So that
I spent a lot of time with Dot Gustain yesterday. Dot.
Kavanaugh?
Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Dot Kavanaugh.
Sorry. And anyway, she's invited me to the next meeting that they're having.
Oh, terrific.
And you know, we're right on your page.
Good.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
coming
being
in.
here. Thanks, Jeff. See you next week, Casey.
Yes, I'll see you next week.
Lucky you. 2 weeks in a
2
row.
weeks in a row.
Public hearing for the amendments to personnel policy.
Yeah.
You can't come? We're still on use of facilities. We've got 4 more.
Oh, okay.
What's this, what's this?
Okay, that was related, that's the,
Is that on this
daycare
agenda?
center. No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
We didn't get the contract, that's what, okay.
Which one?
So.
Okay, let's do the, Green Stride, the,
That's what we just did, wasn't it?
no, this one is for the Newburyport Half Marathon, which would be Sunday, October 25th.
Was he spoke? He said he would be here.
Did you give him a time?
Looks like he forgot.
Is this the first time for this person?
No, we did it
No.
last year.
I mean, my only question would be porta potties, put up, take down signs. They're pretty turnkey, and their mileage in West Newbury is fairly
The date
minimal.
is the 22nd.
Of October.
Yeah, you gave a different date.
What did I say?
25th. October 22nd.
It says, oh, because the map they gave me says,
That might have been last year's map.
yeah,
It's
it is.
2015.
I know, I know.
Okay, so that's how much it hasn't changed. They're able to give us the map.
And if we recall, because this is a for-profit venture, we
Ask for
got
donation.
them to give us give the nonprofit in town a
And I would
donation.
I'd make a motion that we would approve this with all the stipulations that Mr. Anderson might have about details with the porta potties and so forth and so on,
And the signs.
and signs, and that they give that donation to the Bicentennial Committee.
Second.
I think we've given the gamut, the historical.
Did we do the garden club? I think
Yeah,
so,
we
We
yeah.
did. Oh, yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
Joe went
I had to
there.
hand it to him, and I couldn't say anything.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I shouldn't have said that.
So the previous donation, I think, was 300, so do we want to keep it the
Yeah,
same?
300 to the Bicentennial Committee.
And ask him about his porta potties, what his plan is for putting them, installing them, and when they're gonna be removed. They should not be up.
Mary, I believe you said they were not going to be any in West Newbury this time, or?
Oh,
They changed
better
it.
yet.
They're just gonna have 2 water stations.
What about signs?
We did not talk about signs.
Oh.
So, some direction.
Signs have to be, rather than us talk about signs, just let's give some direction to Mary.
Yeah.
So there's no back and forth and Mary spends half the day.
So they have to take their sign down by the following Monday.
Ooh.
I'd say that day, by the end of the day.
Okay.
Up and down
Yeah, by the end of the day.
Okay.
Well, they can put it
I
up.
think a guy used to come here and he says, yeah, he takes his car on the road and he just gets rid of everything that night.
He was pretty good.
And all
Yeah.
trash in the water stations, obviously, everything has to be removed. Any signage or anything that's created from the race has to be done by
Sunday.
the end of that day.
Right. 'Cause
So is there a size to the sign?
No, there's no sign. No sign. No.
So signs can have to be done that
Well,
we put up,
every day.
like, we put up when?
When is the race? On Sunday?
Sunday morning, 9 a.m.
Okay, so they can be put up on Saturday. Okay, and they have the earliest Saturday, and they have to be taken down
Sunday.
on Sunday.
Yep.
And on Sunday, they have to anything that's created from the race, those water stations, track, anything like that, all that stuff has to be
Cleaned up.
and removed at the end of the race.
Okay.
Okay. Next one, we have a request for October 8th from the West Newbury Riding and Driving Club to use for the Pipe Stave Hill Horse Trials. They're going to use the rings and jumping further down on Pipe Stave Hill.
Make a motion to approve and make sure they understand the stipulations that were set forth by the chief of coming to get cones and stuff.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next one is a request for Myopia Hunt Club to do a hunt on September 26th, which starts in Maudsley, comes along the river, traverses through several areas in West Newbury. I spoke with the police chief this afternoon. He had spoken with them quite thoroughly. He feels that they're. I said, do you recommend approve? Because we don't have anything signed by him, but do you recommend approving it? And he said yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
If I'm not mistaken, the last one that we approved, or whatever they had, there was a emergency call from that other one. So their insurance.
The application like the day before.
Yeah, but I mean, there was an ambulance had to come because that last one because of that hunt. Their insurance was up and all that kind of stuff. I think so, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
They had everything.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Last request is for I thought we had approved this, but I'm not sure. The pasta dinner for the Apple Harvest Run. Do you know anything about
why
this,
is this
Glenn?
back? Why is
There's
it?
an addendum.
There's
And
an
I wanted
addendum.
the board to be aware of it, and there is notes from the open fire and the police chief.
What is the addendum?
It is on your third page in.
Third page.
Third page or back page? We counting back
Addendum is
pages?
The
September
safety
12th,
plan?
2000, yes.
Okay.
The what?
The what?
Safety plan?
Go to page 3.
Safety plan?
Yeah.
Again, guys, this is I'm gonna only ask this every time this comes up, that everybody gets treated the exact same way.
Well, where did the safety, is this a request of the chief or?
Well, due to the numbers that they're planning on, the addendum specifies, they're gonna probably max out the capacity of the annex.
The annex hold like standing, or no, they're gonna have some tables?
Seating,
Yeah, I think it's like 400, how many?
219,
You're positive about that?
yeah, we were down and looked.
It's 219 people?
Seated with tables.
Seated with tables.
There's three standards: standing, sitting, and seated with tables.
Was it 219 or 260?
219. Seated with tables.
So based upon that, they're gonna have a fire watch, and
they paying for this detail?
They had no problem with it.
We've never had a detail for this. There's not-
We've never had this many people in that dinner. I've been to it.
Does that mean, we won't have seating for 218 people? I've been doing it for how many years? That's fine. It's fine with me. Doesn't matter to me. My last year, I'm out. So it doesn't matter. Just, hey, the more money that we take away from the PTO, the more money, it doesn't matter. Because we've never had that. This has always been a thing that they've worked out with the police and the fire. People have donated their time. The fire watch. The fire watch goes with, it goes back to the fire watch has nothing to do with the number of people. Or the detail has nothing to do with the number of people. The fire watch goes with that nightclub that burnt in Providence without any sprinklers. So anytime in a public building when you don't have sprinklers, there's a new law in Massachusetts that you have to have a fire watch when alcohol is being served in the building. So the room's not sprinkled. So the fire watch goes because of that. It has nothing to do with the amount of people. If there were the garden club in there with 3 people having a bottle of wine, you're supposed to have a fire watch. It has nothing to do with the number of people. The number of people is arbitrary now by the chief of police that he wants a detail because that number of people are going to be in there.
Okay.
So what should we do?
Well, he's requiring the details, so nothing we can do. Or I don't think, right?
Okay, all in favor?
Are they paying for it? Because I had a volunteer. No, let them do it. Let them do it this way. Let them do it.
All in favor of approving the
Safety plan.
dinner safety plan for September 30th at the annex? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so you see this, right? You see this, okay? The police detail, because they're planning to have over 100 guests, a minimum of 2 police detailed officers is required in accordance with the guidelines for a special event. So,
Do we want
okay,
to?
so now is the school's exempt, right? School's exempt from special events. They take care of their own, right? The paid school had something up there. Do they have to do something? You know what I mean by that?
The paid school property is leased, so they
It
can
does say
conduct any activities that are
up to.
consistent with the operation, educational things. We've already given them permission by virtue of the lease.
It does say that. You're right, it does say that.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we stop with the special detail thing, the special events thing, because it hasn't worked, and maybe rewrite it, or at least start, I don't know.
Well, I think it could.
I'm more than irritated about this, because people have not been treated the same way in this town when they're doing stuff, and that's all I ask.
Well, I think everyone should be treated the same way. Who's not treated the same way?
So the garden club had a special event on our training field. Doesn't matter if it's in a building. They had more than 100 people at that event. How come they weren't even required to have 1 detail, and they were crossing a major roadway?
This is for liquor.
It all has to be about liquor?
It's for liquor. That's what it says. It's for liquor. Oh, indoor. It's indoor guests.
It doesn't say anywhere.
For indoor functions, a minimum of 1 police detail officer is required for up to 100 guests. For indoor functions with greater than 100 guests, a minimum of 2 police detail officers is required. So, I mean, I agree with you that
That's ridiculous.
everybody should be treated the same. I agree.
You have more people. You have more people coming and going on an election, and we don't have a detail out here. We have more people going to town meeting. I mean, I don't understand what the.
Well, if
I
you,
don't understand, what I don't understand is why we're requiring to have a police detail, so what's that a minimum of? $250? They get a minimum of 4 hours, right? At how much, 65 something?
$50.
$50, so it's 200, so we're requiring them to have $400 over a fundraiser that they're trying to do for the PTO, because there's some families that are gonna go up there and have spaghetti and meatballs before an event.
Glenn, if you want to revisit the special event form, I have no problem. I think we should include the police chief if we do that, and the fire chief. But I totally agree that everybody should be treated the same. There should be no exceptions
So,
to anybody.
can we approve this and can I talk to the chief of police
Yeah, go ahead.
about this particular event? And if he feels comfortable having none or having somebody drop by and is somebody paying for this fire watch now?
I thought you said they donated that.
They were all in agreement. I heard both parties, they met and were in agreement.
So they're in agreement.
Both parties were in agreement. Well, they don't have a choice to. I mean, the Apple Harvest Road people don't have a choice to be in agreement. They're being told to be. What I'm being told is they're being told. I mean, they can't say no to anything. They want to use it now. Whatever. So,
A newer person got involved with this event, and that's Ashley Davis.
yeah, I know.
She was concerned with the safety and felt that this was important, that it had not been addressed, and wanted to make sure it was, and that, so, we could have them in.
No, I absolutely don't want to have them in. I don't. The whole point being is that I'm organizing this event with somebody totally different from that individual. Okay?
The spaghetti dinner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I've already met with people over there 2 or 3 times. I'm providing everything for the spaghetti dinner. Okay? So if I meet, I will be there. If I meet the same way I've done it for 20-something years. So if 23 years. If I meet with the chief, because I think I'm hearing something different, and I will clarify that. If he feels comfortable not having 2 details over there, I'd like to know where that came from. I know it came from our policy,
Yeah.
right? I know it came from that, but he might feel that might be excessive.
Overkill.
Yeah.
Ask him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ask him.
Okay. And I'll work.
I do think we should have whatever we have, and we should stick to it.
That needs to be revised. I mean, because just applying this just applying that to this situation, where we need 2 detailed officers.
Mm-hmm. But you're comparing this to the garden club, where
No. I'm doing it in real life. No, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it in real life about safety. That's a safety concern, I guess.
What's that?
Having 2 detailed officers
Oh.
there.
I guess so. I don't know.
Having 2 detailed officers there is a safety concern. Okay, I guess I'm gonna find out. And so now apply that to real life. So you have families, young kids, families. This is not whatever going into the annex, and we have 101 people. That says that we need to have 2 people.
2 officers, right? Yep.
How ludicrous is it? I mean, when you apply it to real life, you know what I mean?
Well, then we should write it so it applies to real life.
Yeah,
that's how you
that's what I mean. And then having, but listen, having, and I don't mean, this is just for an example. This has nothing to do with the garden club. But then letting the garden club set up on the training field. Well, I'm sorry.
Glenn, we've gone over that.
No, but I'm saying, so this is not real life. So, you know what I mean? And not requiring this, or having the horses and not requiring a detail to go across the road. So I guess,
yeah.
So that's what I mean by this. So if we want to talk about safety,
Right.
I don't think we're hitting the nail on the head.
Well, we should, to what you just said, the one distinction I would say, and I think it's for discussion a different night, if we're going to rewrite this talks specifically about indoor functions and all those comparisons you just talked about are outdoor functions. So they're kind of apples and oranges. But we could.
The foundation would have to have police detail for one person over 100. Get 100, more than 100 is one detail. That's always what we did, just for your information. We're a private organization using the school. I don't know if the schools have different rules.
Is there alcohol there?
No.
Because that's part of what's driving this too.
That's an extra detail because of the alcohol.
I don't know.
I totally, like I said.
Glenn, I agreed with what you say,
absolutely
but we had, this is what we came up with. Maybe we have to revisit it,
I would
but
ask that we put it on a future agenda to revisit it. Because I don't see that this, when you say apples and oranges, I see no distinction in a safety thing if an event is outside or if it's inside. There are different safety things.
I'm just reading what's written.
I understand.
Yeah.
So I would actually like, if that's there for safety, we need to revisit this.
Okay, that's fine. And like I said, we should include the chiefs. All right, did we vote this?
no.
No, we did, because we said okay, and Glenn didn't say anything.
Yeah,
We did vote it.
okay, that's, okay.
Which, actually, that's maybe a good idea if you're personally involved in the
Yeah.
event.
Okay.
Public hearing.
Say it again?
I was just looking at the agenda, it says public hearing.
Okay, we, at last meeting, brought up an addition to the personnel policy related to, I'm trying to find it. Supervisor subordinate fraternization. I don't think we need to go through it again because we did it at the last meeting, but to allow the employees or the public to comment on this. It was posted that we're going to discuss this tonight, so.
Have we had any feedback, Mary? Mike?
Yes. Yeah. There's members of the fire department that are married. Which they probably, regardless of this, according to the state ethics, they probably should have disclosed that. Yeah. I mean, according to state ethics law.
I mean, essentially, when Mike asked me, he goes, okay, not that he is opposed to it, but he says, okay, I have members of the fire department who are married. What do I do? And,
If they're both firefighters.
well, no, one's in the supervisor.
Well, that's where I was going to go with it. If they're both firefighters, probably nothing. But if one's a lieutenant and one's a firefighter,
what the suggestion is that A, they have to disclose it to their appointing authority, who has to approve it, and B, that
they be the board of fire engineers.
right, and B, they would have to basically establish a policy where there's no supervisory aspect over the parties, so that any personnel decisions, any staffing decisions are made by someone other than that person. The chair of command would know that.
So, Bob and Jim, and then Sally and John, and Sally and John are the ones that are married. Those four show up for a fire. Sally is a lieutenant, and her husband is a firefighter. And then they're in a situation, and that lieutenant can just.
I don't believe that would constitute supervisory. I mean, in the sense of like staffing or promotion or
that type of stuff.
That type of thing. I mean, you're talking about operations, and in operations, I think that would. I don't think that would.
So if I was a police officer and I was married, and I did not make any calls on staffing or anything like that. The sergeant's the one who did it. I'm a corporal, that's not a big deal because I have nothing to do with that individual's job performance and or staffing or raises or anything like that.
The list of options as expressed in the policy is not exclusive, meaning the appointing authority has some discretion to set it up in a circumstance. Number one, it has to be disclosed. And number two, they have some discretion to set up a circumstance which they would believe
they would have to work under.
Right. So, I mean, it could be where you might have a circumstance where somebody would say, look, it's just impossible for this not, to not have this attraction, and we won't approve it. In which time, one will have to leave.
Or we could say that we understand it and it seems to be working fine.
And
it's disclosed, and we would allow it.
That's what the policy would go. So, I mean, it's interesting. You set up something like this, and then it happens in real life. As to it actually does affect the individuals.
I never thought about the fire department.
I didn't either. That's why we do these hearings. Yeah. So, because we talked earlier, I think that's less, what Mike was talking about is a little less to do with this and more to do with the overall state ethics requirement. I
mean, I think under our proposed policy, that would be an avenue that you would be required to undertake.
Right.
And I think that right now is that they should do it anyways under the state ethics policy.
Right.
Yeah, it should happen anyway.
Okay.
But the advantage is by having it part of our policy is that it basically informs people of it.
I would make a motion that to approve the addition to the personnel policy as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't know you wanted. Okay.
It's a new policy. I think not by just making it. I think we need to outline it to our personnel. How Mike just kind of mentioned that obviously disclosing it is the least they should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want people leaving.
No.
No.
Not
you know
at
what
all.
I mean by that?
You mean by misinterpreting?
By misinterpreting, saying, "Oh my word, okay, we're married.
Right.
You like fighting fires more than I do. I just did it because it was nice to do it together, or something like that."
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to make sure we explain it, and it's more of a case-by-case basis.
Should how?
Maybe we should.
That's all I would ask.
We should probably maybe reach out to the specific two people.
There might be more that we don't know about, because I don't want to be.
Yeah.
We don't. Okay. Oh.
No.
No, I know. So you want to vote on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now I think. Right?
What are we up to?
Continue review of fall town meeting warrants and articles.
Okay.
That's the reason why the.
So there was an amendment to Article 7.
Okay, hold on, guys. I have a draft that's in my packet, right, that I went through.
That says
Use the
draft
one
on
that-
top,
And then there was one that was sitting here on the table. So which one am I using?
The one without draft.
sitting on the table. And what's different, Mary?
Mike, and there's a few, small amendments.
Which articles? 7?
Article 5, we have to put G period, A period, R period, because there's no periods there.
Okay.
Okay, simple as that.
Stickler.
And yes, Article 7 did change just to add the,
Amend zoning bylaw.
yes,
Right.
just certain section 4, period E.
Right. Okay. That's it. Okay. So do we want to review each of them? Do we want to review what there's questions on or what there's comments on? I mean, I think we could just go to questions or comments myself, but whatever you want. There's not that.
Questions and comments by whom?
The FinCom and or audience.
I don't see why we can't just
Go through them all.
go over them, yeah. It's not gonna take long.
Well, like Article 2, what do we need to go over?
I would ask, Mr. Chairman, if, I don't know if the whole FinCom, or if they're gonna have a representative who's going to, pose questions to us, but I would ask them to be able to talk to a microphone, to be able to, interact.
We've got the bulk of our questions on one article, free cash article,
So,
Which,
start with 2, we don't have any questions on 2, correct? Us?
I don't know.
no. So Article 3.
Okay, Article 3 as written says, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $114,000 to reduce the current year tax rate.
So, Mr. Chairman, just a point of order. Anything that was discussed in executive session that's currently an open matter cannot be talked about in open session. Just
Correct.
So, really, our concern stems around the amount of free cash that we currently have. And, I know we've had some discussions over the last few years, at least since I've been around, about the ranges that we want to get to. But, I think I'd like to start the discussion by getting the Board of Selectmen's opinion on where you guys think the target should be for free cash.
I think it should be in a range of 5 to 7%
Of our operating budget.
of our operating budget.
Our operating budget that includes school, or our operating budget that includes town affairs? Is this a big difference?
The operating budget, the Government Financial Officers Association, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, I think they actually have a recommendation, a guideline.
I do not know.
Yeah.
But I would,
I think that's what it is.
but I think it's the total, not.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It's
Totally,
not
yes.
including school, yeah.
It is including school.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I think that's, have you looked at what the governors, what is the name of the thing?
MMA?
No, the
Association of Town Finance Committee?
no.
Gas.
Government Financial, whatever
GASB?
officer, no.
Okay, doesn't really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have seen, so the Department of Local Services and some of the other divisions within the state put out town-by-town advisory guidelines, and in some of those cases, they actually recommend 3 to 5%. But recognizing that would be a big shift from where we are now. I know that we've discussed 5 to 7%, but how do you feel? What are we doing to meet a 7% or 5 to 7% target? Because I think if you look at the last few years, we've been, considerably above that. I think, anywhere between 10 and 11.5%.
Mr. Chairman.
So can we?
Go ahead, Joe.
I agree with what you're saying, but I also would say, we're talking about free cash, which is only one component of, what is it? What's the name?
Undesignated fund balance.
Yeah, which includes other things besides free cash. So I would say to look at the whole thing holistically, not just one component of it.
So what are you talking about when you would say that, Tim? So
What's the definition? So stabilization, OPEB, what is undesignated? What's included in it?
Well, we're talking about undesignated fund balance of the general fund. In the private sector, it's referred to as retained earnings. What the DOR does, will take undesignated fund balance, deduct overlay, which is allowance for abatements and exemptions.
So that includes free cash, includes stabilization. What else?
What are you talking about? You talking about reserves?
No, the undesignated fund balance.
Undesignated fund balance is in the equity section of the general fund.
Okay.
And in order,
undesignated, so it could not include stabilization because that's designated.
stabilization is a separate fund.
Yeah, that's a designated fund. It's designated in stabilization.
Okay, I don't have my definitions right then. But Whatever the thing that I'm talking about does include more than just free cash, but whatever.
Okay, so what are
It
you
is-
driving
It is
at?
what it is, so, but I think it's very important because we've been trying, okay, we've had a conversation that we've had too much free cash on hand for years,
Too many.
too many years. So why don't we just try to stick to that particular fund for now, and rather than, I'm not saying that you're deliberately clouding the picture, because then we're gonna get off on so many tangents, we won't.
Well, I think the stabilization fund is linked to free cash because we're not funding the stabilization fund, A, and then also, we don't have a good, I don't know, maybe we do now recently, but I mean, I haven't really seen a good vetting of what we should be, what our capital projects are. So how do we pay for them?
I don't understand when you say that we're not funding stabilization. We're funding stabilization.
Well-
We might not be funding stabilization from our line item, from our omnibus budget, but we are funding stabilization.
I don't think we have recently.
No, in the last few years,
taking
we've
it out of
been,
free cash.
we've been, instead of putting money in and then immediately taking it back out, we've decided that it was,
Because a previous finance director told us that was
That
not a
was
very
more-
good practice because we were disturbing money that was in a
Right.
certain
longer
fund.
term.
Absent the proper capital planning, you need to have investments which align with your capital planning process. And
Exactly.
absent that, we're forced into this situation. But I think
Let's get back to the free cash though, because we'll talk about this all night. So that's
Well,
just,
I'm just going on record, I think they're linked.
so you think what?
They are linked.
Okay, so let them be linked.
Okay.
So do you think our free cash, just the free cash portion of it, not the stabilization portion of it, is too much?
Absolutely.
Okay, that we carry over every single year.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so just that portion of it, with an operating budget of 10,
14 million.
14.
13, 14, yeah.
Yeah. Just call it 14, 7 basic on each side. So 14 million, that, can we all at least be in agreement that that should be at least between 5 and 7%?
Well, it should be when and I would add my caveat to it. I mean, I'm not backing away from the capital plan.
Okay, so then, that portion of, so under your equation, the portion of free cash that we're talking about, free cash, right? That needs to be like more like 3 or 5%. Because if you're gonna add stabilization to that, to get to your total of 5 to 7%, then that portion of the undesignated thing, whatever we're gonna call it, should be much lower than 5 under what you're saying. Do I make any sense in that respect? If he wants to add stabilization to that percentage of quote unquote free cash or whatever that's supposed to be under best. Now, I've
No,
heard
Glenn, I
from-
think you got it backwards. If we're gonna be more, if we're gonna be, you might, putting less away into stabilization and using free cash to fund capital purchases, then you've got to have more in free cash in order to be able to do that.
I understand that, but I was never in favor of that practice. I fought it and fought it and fought it.
Well, I fought it for
Of what practice? I'm sorry, I was looking.
Of paying capital projects out of free cash.
Yeah, I agree.
See, I was against it originally, but then it completely, but it makes total sense to me to leave investments alone if we have the free cash.
Well, the problem I think though is that we're into a cycle where we always have the free cash, and we haven't done anything, at least in the last few years, to address it. And there's an argument also to be made that having excess amounts of free cash on hand lends departments to come up with pet projects that
hasn't happened though.
I wouldn't say that has happened. No.
Well,
what?
Even if it's just a conceptual argument, having unallocated, maybe not use that word, but having lots of cash on hand that hasn't been earmarked to capital projects may lend itself to.
Yes, and you can't say that it's not back of people's minds. Andrew,
That's why we're here, though.
Yeah, so I understand. So before somebody says, well, you don't want to get down too low on free cash because now that's going to affect your bond rating. Because I've heard that a million times before. So I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate. So keeping that between 5 and 7% that does not affect our status.
Well, we just was rated by Standard & Poor's, so the next time we'll be rated again will be whenever we need to borrow some more money.
Well, we just borrowed some and at a very successful rate.
No, but I'm telling you that I've been told by previous
Well, exactly. But
that if you bring down your free cash too low, opposed to the percentage to your operating budget, that you don't look favorable when bonding. So that's all I'm trying
correct.
to say. We're all going to talk about it. We should just get it all out so we move forward with this.
Well, I think if you look at similar towns in Essex County, I think you'll see that our amount of free cash is double, in some cases triple, their amounts with all very comparable bond ratings.
Mm-hmm.
So there doesn't appear to be a correlation between having lower free cash and having a worse.
Well, I'm not saying there was, but there is a point when it does affect it, and I don't think the 5 to 7% will affect it. But I just wanted to make sure that was part of the discussion, so somebody can't say negative things about it. So, what is our certified free cash right now?
It's going to be certified.
It hasn't been certified
in the middle of October.
I know, but it is.
You're talking about last year, 1.8 million.
So we had $1.8 million worth of certified free cash, and then we spent how much on Springtown meeting?
I don't have that number off the top of my head.
yeah,
There was a couple of $100,000, I believe, for snow and ice, and I believe Gary bought a tractor and.
Okay, so we don't know what that amount is.
I think it's $271,000.
So say 300. So say 300, and we had 1.8. So we have right now certified, give or take, $1.5 million.
That's not correct.
No.
Why is that not correct?
Because the fiscal year is over, and we need to.
we don't know what happened
Free cash certified
in
for fiscal year
2017.
17.
Okay, so if I make this statement, our free cash was certified at, let's not be precise because the numbers could be wrong. Our free cash was certified at $1.8 million it always happens in the fall, okay?
Mhm.
So that's certified, we can use that money. So we took $300,000 out of that free cash at Springtown meeting and used it, okay?
Mhm.
That $1.5 million is still certified. Now, what they're certifying is what is beyond that, what has zeroed out and so forth at the end of this past fiscal year. Because that would mean, to me, that we can't use $1.5 million from July 1st until whenever they certify it. So we have no money.
Correct.
So hypothetically,
Yep.
if we had an emergency and we needed to hold a special town meeting, we couldn't use that previous $1.5 million that was already certified.
That's correct.
That's fact.
That's fact.
Wow. I'm surprised at that.
Mr. McGrath?
You need to use the microphone. If you guys want to grab a microphone from back there, because the cameras are remotely and they only go here. So, you know what I mean? They'd have to, so.
I've changed my mind. I've decided I have nothing to say.
Okay.
So
Can we check that? Doesn't that sound a little crazy?
No, that's fact.
That's
We're
fine, though.
planning on getting free cash certified by the end of the month.
Yeah, it's in the middle, generally the middle.
But
of
until that
October.
happens, you cannot appropriate any money.
He's right.
Okay. So let's get back to the
Article.
warrant article. So
So what are you saying in regard to the warrant article?
so
You don't like the number and you want it higher.
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I just don't see, if we're kind of agreeing that, say, 7% is a target, I don't see how this amount moves the needle at all.
I agree with you, but we're talking about it in a vacuum. we're just
But
talking
we're
about.
not talking about the bathroom, because why don't you tell us what's been turned back? Do you have any stuff there that's been turned back over the last 3 years? Because I think we had a conversation like this, because we honestly have a conscious effort of spending down free cash. And if it wasn't last town meeting, it was the one before, we thought we did it. Then all of a sudden, when it was certified, we went, what the hell? I thought we spent it down. It was back up to 1.7 million. Because there has to be an average of something that gets turned back every year. And that's the whatever in the room that we don't realize is going to come up again and go to fund free cash again.
Glenn is right about that.
Remember
The
we were
turn
surprised?
back ends up being larger than we expect.
Yeah.
All the time. So maybe I think it's a good thing that I know some people in the FinCom have done some great research about this. Numbers don't lie. There has to be some type of average, right? And then maybe we can commit ourselves, no matter what we do, that spend it down, and whatever that is from the previous year, we turn back. You know what I mean by that? I mean that's one of your ideas, I think, or something that I've come to.
I would just say this topic needs a whole lot more discussion than we can give it tonight. And we've got a pending or impending middle school, high school project that we're going to need a lot of money for, unless we want to raise our taxes, which I don't want to do. And I think one component of that is free cash.
Well,
so it's just a lot bigger discussion than right here today.
Well, I would agree with that, right? I would agree with that, but we need to have that discussion because that money will be coming out of free cash.
Yes, yes. I actually have a draft that I put together to share with you.
So let's make this number at least larger. This number, going back to take the tax rate down, needs to be larger than what it is now.
No, because then
That doesn't.
that's the opposite of what
That's
we're
the
trying to
opposite
do.
of what he just said. Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about
No. I know it's the opposite of what you're trying to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there needs to be both. There needs to be putting away for the school project and paying down the tax rate.
We don't have enough money for the school project.
I understand that.
So I don't want to lower taxes artificially just to turn around 2 years from now. The residents like a tax rate like this. What you're describing is to do that.
No. I think residents like a tax rate like this.
Well, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
But that's not going to happen. And I never thought that putting money away for the school project was going to pay for it. I thought that putting away money for the school project would soften those things. You know what I mean? Instead of spikes, we would be able to.
Right.
It's still going to be a substantial spike.
It's way more money than we have.
Yeah.
I understand that.
I mean, particularly with this potential of a combination middle school, high school. I think if it was just the original high school project, we actually maybe could be having this conversation. But with the potential for the two school, we don't have enough money. I mean, we'll need an override for a combination school.
One thing you have to keep in mind, though, Glenn, is that if you can't use your free cash greater and greater to buy down the tax rate.
That's a spiral.
Because what happens is, the 1 year you don't do it,
You're going to get a spike.
You're done.
you get a
But we
spike.
have excess levy capacity now.
We're going to need.
Yeah, but I mean, but the problem is that all of a sudden, that's when there's going to be the jump because you don't have that buy down.
I understand that.
We need the excess levy capacity we're using the retired free debt to pay for the high school. So we're using that levy capacity.
Yes, we are.
Correct.
So we need that.
Okay, so
I mean, I would
well,
not.
if nothing else, that we need to turn into the FinCom and say that this is a great idea. There needs to be more discussion about it.
Oh, yeah,
And
totally.
No, but commit to that discussion at a meeting, and it might take an hour, it might take 2 hours, but
I'm
commit
sure
to
will.
it.
That's fine. I mean, I think the discussion should include the capital plan and the high school building project. I have no problem with that.
But you don't want to take action for this.
The only action I would like to take is to reduce the 114.
To reduce
But,
it.
but see, but you know what, then why are we reducing it at all then?
But you want to meet a 7% target.
Yeah, and I have a plan to do it.
But you don't wanna discuss it.
No, I do. It's okay if we're going to be here till 11 o'clock. I mean, we need to have a holistic discussion. So, do you have the capital plan? I don't.
Well, I think part of the challenge is that we haven't necessarily had a fully functional capital improvements process.
Exactly.
But,
I've been saying that for like a year and a half.
And so have we, but I think the tack we'd like to take is to force us to have a functional process by reducing free cash to 7% and make it priority number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 for the town manager to shepherd that in.
We're all in agreement. Did John, by any chance, share with you my high school ideas that I talked to him about?
Just that you had the conversation, but we were swiftly
It's
moving.
going to suck out all the free cash down to 7%. And it's going to be in like a couple of years from now. So it's accomplishing what you want, but not today.
Well, one of our thoughts was to take the amount in excess of 7 and allocate a portion of it to the school stabilization fund.
That's
not
fine.
necessarily just to buy down the tax rate, but to.
I mean, we could, but that's just moving it from bucket A to bucket B to move it back to bucket. I mean, we're just kind of playing chess with it.
Well, is there an investment performance difference in having, $2+ million in free cash versus more money into the stabilization over a 5 or 6 year period?
Well, the money in stabilization is actually in a separate fund, and it's actually cash in a bank account, if you will, accruing interest.
Right.
Free cash does not accrue interest.
Yeah. So
We have $1.8 million sitting out there doing nothing for us.
Yep.
Well, $1.5 million, and so how much was turned back this year? Do we have that figure?
I believe 300,000 in expenses and 200,000 in revenue. So a total of 500,000.
Okay, so that's where we all opened our eyes up last time, when we thought we did a job, and we only spent 271, and then
we're all agreeing with that. We're just not really on the same page as far as I'm concerned about the high school, and I want to pay for it with a minimal tax increase, and at the same time, get free cash down to the 5 to 7% range. Would you be happy with that?
Yeah, but it seems like we just seem to talk about things and never come up with a plan.
Right there.
And do something. So then, with your theory, then why we even bother with the 114?
Well,
why? I mean, if you want to go with your reason and thinking, do nothing.
That's fine.
I mean,
He actually wants to do that.
I want to
so
put
is
it.
this one of these? You tricked me into all this to get to review?
No.
No, I want the money for the high school, and because I want to have as small a tax increase for the high school, middle school as possible.
But why keep it in free cash and not the school stabilization fund?
Which then is making money for the town.
Well, that's not what
Because free cash could be used for other purposes, not the high school.
What's that?
Did I mishear you? The stabilization. What's the stabilization?
Well, stabilization is actually invested.
Oh, that's fine then.
So that's what their point was, that they should. I think that was one of his points. That yes, he's in agreement that we should save for the high school.
That's fine.
So let's buy it down and then put money into that stabilization, so it then can start earning money to make payments to the high school.
If that's the case, that's fine. So let's talk this all out and put an article on. I don't know that we'll have one for the fall, but let's do that.
But why can't why can't we change Article 3 and say that we transfer $500,000 from free cash to the school stabilization? We know that $500,000 is coming in.
Yeah,
Well, then you'll be increasing. This 114 is to buy down the tax rate, so that'll be a $114,000 tax increase if you do that.
Okay, so why don't we do $500,000 for stabilization for the school and $114,000 to buy down the tax rate?
Fine.
So then we get $614,000 out of free cash, and $500,000 will be part of start earning money for us, and 114 would be buy down the tax rate.
I'm fine.
I would do that.
I mean, my thought here is to use at least $1 million of free cash against the high school project, so that we can flatten our payment, because payments reduce.
I understand. I know we're not gonna pay for it. I'm looking to, not to have so many
That's fine.
ballots.
We're saying
So
the
you
same.
guys in agreement with that? So we can make another article? So we'll have Article 7, so I make a motion that we have, that we make Article 8, which would say that we would,
Transfer
the town
from
will
free cash.
vote to raise inappropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of, the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $500,000 to the, what are we calling it? Is it the high school or is it the school?
School stable.
School
School
stabilization.
stabilization.
School stabilization. That was a motion.
Second. Discussion.
Discussion?
May I
Yes.
ask a question?
Yep.
In the interest of just kind of protecting ourselves, since the free cash amount has yet to be certified for this year, is it possible to create a motion that would say up to that amount, so that if we get for some odd reason, a very nasty surprise on free cash?
Yeah, just to give you I think, so all this.
That's a good point.
All this, that's a great point. But just so in the future, this warns the town that we have to, we have to educate the town, warn the town there's gonna be an article.
Yep.
We can reduce that amount on town meeting floor, but you can never
thank you.
increase. You never can increase the amount. You can't increase, I thought you could not increase it.
No, it's not absolutely.
Okay, just leave it.
All right.
All new to
I've
me,
only been a
one way or
selectman
the
for
other.
around
So
12 years, and they've always said I thought we couldn't increase it.
To answer your question, it can be reduced.
But I would like to have it to $500,000, because without even certifying it, we were certified 1.8. We used 271, and we turned back 500. So in there might be, just say, $50,000. That might not be whatever. So we're going to be around $500,000 more. So we just increased it by another $218,000 around. No, 129,000. You know what I mean? Because we've only spent 20, right?
You lost me.
Whatever. No, we spent, going into last budgeting cycle, we said we want to spend down free cash. We spent $271,000. It ended up, okay, we said, oh, good for ourselves. Let's wait to see what free cash is certified. Well, we just zeroed out $500,000. So we're behind 100 and,
Okay, so what are we going to do to get a better capital plan so we can have a real discussion?
I think we should need to talk to the selectmen's representative to the CIC. Archie?
Right. Well,
I mean, what are your thoughts being on that committee? I mean, are they?
it's. I'll tell you, it's always a question of garbage in, garbage out. You have to have good data to make the capital plan
It's like they vet what's there
worthwhile.
Instead of doing
Okay, so we
plan.
had so someone says, well, we think we need a roof on the Garden Street Fire Station, and we'll just put that down. And it seems so. It doesn't seem
We
like.
need a fire truck, this, or we need a tractor and this thing, and then it doesn't happen.
But
then it doesn't happen because it gets pushed off, and then it messes up. You know what I mean?
We thought the boat was bad, but then we looked at it and the boat's not good, not so bad, so we keep it for another 5 years. So it's very difficult to pin people down
Well, I like the idea.
on the. Having said that, we have to do better, but we can only work with the data from what we receive, because I can't evaluate a snowplow, but.
And neither can Gary in that respect, because I don't think he's doing it. But you know, when he says, when we ask him, I say, "What are you going to have to replace?" Well, this snowplow is already 5 years old. In 4 years, we're going to have to replace it, because then all of a sudden, when that fourth year hits, he's going, I think he can get another 2 or 3 years out of this. And then all of a sudden, that kind of throws it off. You know what I mean? So because it's kind of a guessing game.
Well, no 10-year plan is going to be perfect you know, we could have mild winters for the next decade, in which case the snow removal equipment will be in mint condition. So any plan will have some.
But we should have
we
a
just
Right.
need a plan.
But we
Right.
should have a
Right.
plan.
I think
So I like your idea that we all stay committed to it, and when this new town manager or whatever, something that we
We need to start before, we can't wait for it. to
We
happen.
need
I
to,
know, I'm
we
not
need to
saying that
work,
we do,
yeah.
But so then let's have a joint meeting with the Capital Improvements Committee and do it just with the FinCom and us, and that's the only meeting. Do it on a weekend, do it on an off night, do it on whenever.
I mean,
Well, maybe not on the weekend, sorry,
Yeah.
Tom. So, but I mean, just on an off night, so we're not saying, oh, look, we can't have this discussion because we have, you know, we're gonna be here until 11 o'clock. I don't know. I think that's the important thing. Does that sound good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Can
I'm
I
fine.
call the vote on this thing before you guys change your mind?
No, I'm not gonna change my mind. That's what I want.
Okay, so, and you guys are kind of happy, right? Because we've done the free cash, and thank you for the hard work that you've done on this. And then let's just try to start educating each other and get the CIC plan. It's come a long way.
The only comment I would add is that was, I think, some of the internal debate we had as a group was just deciding probably by most metrics we have too much, and it was just the debate about whether it made more sense to try to buy down future expenses like the school or return some portion of it to the taxpayers.
You know, we're not gonna have enough for the school, so that.
Of
answers that
course.
question.
And so, and again, we knew you guys had already put an article to buy down some of the tax rates, so we just wanted to more confer with you guys about how you felt about the pull and tug between trying to buy down the tax rate versus preparing for the school were the two main things that we had identified as a committee. So I think we're pretty much all in agreement there. But all things being equal, I think $2 million earning interest is probably better than, you know, $2 million not, if we know we're going to use the money in the same place at the end of the road anyway. So.
Agreed. Unfortunately, it doesn't earn very much, but it's better than nothing, yeah.
Something over 5 years or however long it's going to take for the process to play out.
And it's dedicated. The taxpayer knows where that money is going, and I'm sure they'll be happy about that on both accounts. Oh, my opinion is, you know.
You never
as-
know on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there,
Go ahead.
Is it time for just a little story time?
Oh, a little, okay.
We get a lot of.
Around 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 7 or 8, we got
Just go to the 5.
we got a influx of cash for the Wheelabrator thing. It's our
That was
track.
a decade ago.
A decade ago. We got money back, $300 and something thousand for something with our trash contract. We got it back. Me and another selectman on the board tried to pay the tax rate down on town meeting floor. We're saying, we're going to give you money back. We're going to give you tax relief. It was voted down, okay? Because the FinCom, and I think two people to my right were on it at that time, and a finance director convinced the town that it was better to save, right? Even though we had this much, you know, this is not something that just happened yesterday, this increase of free cash. This has been like this for years. So,
And so
don't
we
be surprised when he says it was voted.
we were right.
Okay, thank you. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I want to get this vote. Joe?
What, I said aye.
Okay. Time for questions on other articles?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, any article you want to talk about.
The town manager salary article.
Well, salary, benefits, and expenses.
Yes.
Okay.
We've seen two numbers for that. 150 is the number that's going to town meeting.
Can I ask a couple of questions, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
of our council?
Okay.
So, we have a town manager coming in. We have money that will be that's in our line item budget for a finance director. Soon as the legislation passes and we no longer have the legislation for a finance director, can then you use that money that's been in the budget that was allocated for a finance director for a finance director or anything else? Or does it sit there until the end of the year because there is no real designation anymore of a finance director because that was just taken away by our legislature? And then would that just zero out the free cash?
There's no line item for finance director.
It's the finance department.
It's the finance department. So, basically, is that however you structure the town manager to be in as part of the finance, finance department.
Or we could use that money if.
And this is more of a question actually for the town accountant.
But,
So-
or we could use that money.
Let him finish.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you just.
It's more of a question for the town accountant. I mean, but again, it's a finance department as opposed to, a finance director salary. It's so.
I got you.
So if Andy works in the finance department,
I
he
can answer that
continue to be
question.
paid.
You can make a motion at town meeting to transfer the money from one line item to another.
Well, but
I
if
thought
you
you
work in the
I thought you
finance
couldn't do
department, I mean, what's the difference?
I thought you couldn't do that.
No, I'm saying if the finance director's
Oh,
not
town
here and
meeting,
you have
town
extra
meeting.
money left over, you make a motion at town meeting to transfer that money from that line item to the town manager's salary line item.
No, we're concerned about paying you.
I'm concerned about paying you.
That's what we're talking about.
So, because what I hope is if this process doesn't, we get the legislation gets passed, and now all of a sudden theoretically we don't have a town finance director.
Let's say it
legislation.
passed tomorrow. That's what
and
he's
then
saying.
I want to, or if this whole process doesn't work and we have to pay you extra.
What Mike said was he works in the finance department, so it doesn't.
I just wanna make sure.
We're fine.
I just want to make sure that's.
My salary's funded completely for fiscal year 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we're good. We're fine.
So now this figure that we have is.
And you can transfer money towards at the end of the year too, between
Yes.
any line item.
Yeah. So the 150, we all feel confident that will pay for the finance, the two new town managers, salary benefits, and anything else we might need?
What's the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
The
Will it cover it? More than.
More than, it's.
That was
it-
your.
We're just,
You had come up
we're,
with that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
I
because
would
don't
say
wanna
being, go ahead.
I don't want to count on the finance director's money.
No,
I
that's
know
a
what you're
separate-
saying.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
this
I want-
is
I want
totally,
this to be
no.
clean, and then maybe we need Andy to stick, or come on, whatever that's gonna happen, and that money anyway will then zero out the free cash.
So, but that money, just to be clear, that's a half a year's salary for the
No,
town manager.
it's not.
No.
It's
no.
more, way more
We
than
did not.
that.
We did not determine the time it is because we didn't know when the person would start. Could be more, could be less. We don't know.
Okay.
And I would say it includes other,
Benefits.
it's definitely including health and all that stuff, but other unanticipated expenses with hiring and, creating a new position. Maybe the person needs a new, needs a new laptop. Maybe we have to move around some person needs a new desk. Maybe we have to do some minor
It's unknown to us,
construction. So,
I mean, personally, I don't think we're going to spend 150,000.
no.
But it doesn't matter because it just drops back to free cash. It's appropriated from free cash and drops back to it.
I would say
It's impossible because what we're gonna have posted, the annual salary is, and benefits is in it. Then if we're talking about half a year, because that's kind of what we're talking about, I guess. Was that it? Like
that was our initial thought was it would be 6 months, yeah.
Make sure we had 6 months, but I mean, if you double that, 300,000, we're not paying somebody $300,000 at all. So
Would you consider putting a sunset clause just for housekeeping matters?
Well, I think that's what happens, right? If it doesn't get spent. Oh.
yeah, whatever's not.
Oh.
It would continue.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
That's a good idea.
Because next fiscal year it will be a line item, and it'll be
I would put a
finance line
sunset
item.
clause that it would zero out at the end of fiscal year 2018.
Does it have to be in the article or the motion?
It would have to be in the motion.
Okay.
I mean, put it in the article too, but I mean, we can definitely put it in the statute.
And all remaining amounts would be zeroed out.
That's a very good idea.
Yep. Do we have any of these articles? That's another discussion, but that's something that you might want to check into, because I think Mike did it too years ago. How many different articles are still hanging out there that have amounts in them that projects haven't been done, but they haven't been finished or whatever?
Well, they are done.
I mean, I'm sorry, that they are done. I'm sorry, I misspoke. that they are done, but there's just money hanging around there. I would actually look, I bet it's a little bit. Before it was a lot of it. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, just generally, given the time of year we're heading into, just in terms of budget season, we're concerned, I think understandably, just that our ability to deliver on time for next year for the annual town meeting, and have a smooth transition, when the town manager gets onboarded for the budget cycle. So I don't know if there's any formal plan, on how and when. I know part of it's dependent on the legislature, but how and when this person gets onboarded. If Andy, is willing to or can stick around for some of that transition.
It's in their hands. I mean, it's like predicting the future. It's still, as of today, it's still in the Senate awaiting the third reading. After that happens, it goes to the House for second, third reading. Then the governor. I couldn't predict how fast or slow it would go. It's taken more time.
So what are you looking for?
Something a little bit more concrete that would, I don't know whether we could ask Andy to commit, for a definite period, or, something that would allow us to have a smooth January and February at least, so, because those are the crucial months for us. And we had mentioned earlier that we want to start the budget season a little bit earlier this year, just in anticipation of, potential disruptive process. So, it's December, January, and February that to us are the most critical months in getting things built.
I would say yes. That was one of the reasons why I wanted the monies to be totally separated in this article, to be able to pay for a town manager if Andy stays on, so it could be the smoothest transition, and the monies are there to pay him and per diem or whatever we have to do to make sure that the whole budget process and going over to the town manager if he's willing, So, yes, I would hope.
Are you guys ready to talk about all of the articles next week?
We should be.
Okay, good.
Is there any other questions you have?
It's very helpful to have useful appendices in the FinCom booklet. And
It's for home, not for here, so if you don't hear it.
So it would be really helpful to know in advance what you want to have put in at the end of the FinCom booklet. And if everybody could be thinking about that, the selectmen are among the major proponents of articles. So if you have anything, the sooner we can begin to process it, the better.
Okay.
I think the only thing, the zoning map, obviously.
The zoning
is there
map.
anything else?
You don't have to answer now, but if you
no,
can
we
just...
wanna-
Yeah, no, we want to.
We want to. Yes.
I already said it to Elise, but the actual language of the proposed moratorium, what would it be? I mean, the article is just kind of an abbreviated form of it, but I think I sent to you what the actual language would be, and so I sent that to her to add as an appendix.
And do you want amendments to the zoning bylaw that pertain to a groundwater overlay to go in an appendix too? Okay. And Mike Goutet had a narrative to go with the groundwater thing. I don't know if you all have an opinion about it, but...
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I haven't seen
Since we're the ones in this article, all things should be coming from us.
Okay.
I would say that.
I haven't seen that.
No, so
Do we have it?
I wouldn't approve that.
I believe he's waiting for it to come from the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission.
Would it be?
No, he said a narrative.
So when you look at the overlay district, one portion of it does come from the water department. So we did the Dole Place and then the 999 Main Street, and that is coming from the water department. So he wanted to have some input as far as that portion of it.
So he can have as much input as he wants, but I would personally ask him if he would come to us first. He can do whatever he wants to do, and I think it would be helpful. But I would ask him to come to us since we're in.
Yeah, just send it to us.
So the narrative you're talking about, is that the multi-page
Yeah,
report
it's
that
very
she
long.
sent?
I'm not sure it's necessary, but if it is necessary, I really
very
want to
long.
know
So
in
you have
advance. Yeah, well,
I
it's only in
did get
draft
it,
form.
But I wouldn't, it was the history
Well, we need to look.
of it. It wasn't,
It is what it is. If it's one word or if it's 5,000 words, I would ask that nothing be published or nothing be whatever until we look at it.
Yep. Okay.
On that same article, the water article, one question that I think we could anticipate at the meeting is whether we're putting the cart before the horse with this zoning overlay district, because that does place restrictions on the homeowners and the landowners affected by that in terms of what they can and can't use their property for.
Well, that applies to any overlay district. It also applies to 999 Main Street too.
Right.
I mean, it's the same thing. There's an approved, or I don't know if it's approved. Has the DEP approved that site?
yes.
So it's an approved site by the DEP.
But
So-
does that act doesn't impose a zoning overlay? Approving it
No.
as a wellfield site doesn't.
Correct.
No, you're correct, yeah.
Right. But you're saying it poses, however you said it. And I'm just saying that also would apply, that applies to any well site.
Any personally owned or town managed?
Any
well site?
well site.
Any well site.
Because of setbacks and so forth.
I don't pretend to speak from a position of extreme knowledge on this one, but I would anticipate the question that that might come up, saying, well, okay, now we're under restrictions, and it may affect things like if you have animals, where runoff from animal waste, things like that, changes to your septic system by abutters of that property. So,
Which is the same for anything. That's the same. That would apply to when the Byfield Water District asked for what they asked for. They asked for groundwater. That did apply
Off of Ash Street.
to people that lived on Ash Street. So you're correct. That's what it does.
Well, I think you're concerned that if people have questions, you'd like to have answers.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we hear you. So we're going to get together and hopefully get some good answers for you.
Sounds like a plan.
When do you need all this by?
Well, I'm just anticipating the question at town meeting.
Yeah.
And that.
But don't you need it for your FinCom booklet, or no?
No,
That's
not
I
necessarily,
think it's
no.
more just, we don't have the property yet. I think somebody could rightfully ask, why are we imposing this zoning overlay on a property we don't have yet? Is it out of sequence?
Gotcha.
Just more of a preparatory comment.
Thank you.
The appendices, it would be good right at the very beginning of October to have them sort of figured out.
Well, as of right now, there's definitely two things: the map and the moratorium language.
The moratorium language for the marijuana.
That might be it.
Just we'll put in.
And we're not saying that the micro T thing you might not want to have, or maybe you could have that and you could reference things to somebody. We just want to look at something first and we can get back to you.
We haven't seen it.
I'm way not asking that it happen.
You can always have, in that cases when they're that long, you put them in there and you made a few packets up for people and they could grab them rather than have them in every booklet. Anything else? Thanks, guys, for coming.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have that, do you have, so on the high side, like, do you have all those other ones about other towns and so forth and so on?
Yeah, we have a whole Excel file.
Would you mind? Send it to Mary?
Hey, Nick, I'll call you sometime in the next few days. I think when you see my school analysis, you're gonna kind of flip-flop a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think our perspective isn't that it's not that we.
But you have to remember, that's his school analysis, it's nothing that we have
It's not the
discussed.
board.
Yeah.
I just did it yesterday.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with us and or the amounts or
Yes.
whatever he has.
Right.
Absolutely not,
Yes.
not,
Yeah.
That point's safe, but I
That's
think
correct.
our point isn't so much we wanna take free cash and have a giant, massive tax relief. It's, let's use it productively, invest it, knowing we have giant expenses down the road, so.
cool.
We should talk about that at a future meeting, though.
Let's do it. Okay, what do we need to do here?
So do we have to, I know we have to sign, Andy, we have to sign all these bond documents, but we just have to make a motion to approve the bond documents?
There's an actual vote in there.
There's a vote? Oh.
Okay.
Where is it?
Do we all have to sign it, or do you,
We all have to sign
or
it.
the chairman?
No, everybody. There's one portion that the clerk had to sign.
They're coming after your house, so don't worry.
Oh, I'm the clerk?
No, I am.
when
You made me the
when-
clerk.
Oh, good. No, I have it homesteaded.
Where's the motion?
Voted the sale.
Okay. So I move to approve the sale of $1,700,000 in general obligation water bonds of 2017 of the town dated September 28th, 2017 to Robert W. Byrd and Company Incorporated at the price of $1,738,005.05, and accrued interest, if any, is hereby approved and confirmed. The bond shall be payable on September 15th of the years and in the principal amounts and bear interest at the respective rates. I don't have to read this whole thing, but
Second.
there's more. Where?
Further voted.
Further voted the bonds maturing on September 15th, 2032, September 15th, 2037, September 15th, 2042, and September 15th, 2047 shall be subject to mandatory redemption or maturity rates as indicated on the chart.
I can't wait for 2047.
Second.
There's more.
There's more?
Yeah. Oh, you gotta be kidding.
Are you serious, Mike?
I'll read it.
Further voted that in conjunction with the marketing of the sale of the bonds, the preparation and distribution of a note of sale and preliminary official statement dated September 7, 2017, and final official statement dated September 14, 2017, such in each form as may be approved by the town treasurer, be hereby ratified, confirmed, approved, and adopted. Further voted that the bond shall be subject to redemption at the option of the town upon such terms and conditions as set forth in the official statement. Further voted that town finance director, treasurer, and the board of selectmen be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a continuing disclosure undertaking in compliance with the SEC Rule 15C2-12 in such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the bonds for benefit of the holders of the bonds from time to time. Further voted that we authorize and direct the town finance director treasurer to establish post-issuance federal tax compliance procedures in such form as the treasurer and bond counsel deem sufficient, or in such procedures are currently in place to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain tax exempt status of the bonds. Further voted that each member of the board of selectmen, town clerk, and town finance director treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and to execute and deliver, who wrote this, such certificates, receipts, or documents as may be determined by them or any I lost my place. I further certify votes taken in an open meeting to the public, and that no vote was taken by secret ballot, that a notice stating the place, date, time, and agenda for the meeting was filed with town clerk, and a copy posted in a conspicuous manner. That's it. Dated September 17th.
Okay.
You can second that.
Can I second that for discussion? It makes mention to a finance director treasurer in there through the whole thing. What happens when we don't have a finance director?
We have a treasurer.
You always have a treasurer.
Thank you.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I already signed these, but you guys gotta sign a whole shitload of these things.
You know you're on TV when you swear.
Yeah.
Live, actually, we don't have the 8-second delay button at the West Newbury. Okay, can we sign those later and get done with this meeting so that
Yes.
some people can go home that need to go home?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the next thing on the agenda not be discussed in open session, be put on a later agenda item in executive session because it could jeopardize something.
I would
Negotiating a position.
completely agree.
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Can I just, I wasn't,
I don't know why it's on here.
I just wanted to make I agree with you. Can I go back to at the risk of?
What,
Go
another
back to
big
what?
thing?
No, to the bond thing. I just wanted to make a point, Jen, that I don't know if you saw this, but the town received a AA+ bond rating. Okay, which, I mean, that's a upgrade and it's one notch below AAA, so, I mean, that's a credit to our strong management, strong budgetary discipline, strong reserves. And we could have had a AAA. I mean, one of the things they cited was the Essex County retirement and their unfunded portion liability, unfunded pension liability.
Which has nothing to do with us.
Which has nothing, that's Walmart stuff. Which we're a part of. So, I mean, that's a big
Isn't
thing.
it pretty hard for us to get the AAA with the town this size?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's almost impossible. Because, not because of anything, just because of our size.
You haven't signed a few of those, and they're all you.
Okay, so next thing,
It's
appointment?
just interesting that the power of interest is that it's the interest payments would be $900,000 on a $1.7 million borrowing over 30 years.
If you have money, you make money.
It's just interesting that it's that much interest.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just look at your house after 30 years, whatever. And that's at 3.125?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine Jimmy Carter's days would be 12.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
You have one appointment for tonight? That's
I make a motion to
Richard Preble.
appoint Dick Preble for to the
Second, discussion.
Capital Improvements Committee.
Can I just make a point that conflict of interest certificates received must be printed certificates, and going forward, that we do not accept any handwritten ones.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, because they're not printing out on
They're
the.
not printing out. People do it,
Yeah.
and
I mean, I honestly did one, and Mary and Mike watched me do it. At the end, I hit the thing. It was supposed to come out print.
it doesn't
never-
play nice with all computer systems.
No, it doesn't.
And it
It
didn't.
happens all the time.
And it
Okay,
did-
I wasn't aware of that.
I did it in the office with both of them there, because Mary like stapled me to the chair to make sure I did it.
And
It wouldn't print.
my attitude is, if you're going to cheat on the ethics test, then
Can you
There's
save
no
it?
hope.
Can
Yeah.
you just save it to a PDF then?
no,
It
does
goes
not-
blank, and then
Yeah.
they can't get back to
You
it.
it shows. On,
Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
They
It
end up,
shows
yeah.
on your screen. In fact, I've had people
Take pictures of the screen.
Take pictures
and then-
of the
Yeah,
screen
There you
with
go.
their phone.
Screenshot.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, but sometimes when you hit, sometimes they've done that, but sometimes when you hit and then it goes blank and you can't do the.
And you
Yeah.
can't- and then you have to do the whole
Print
thing again.
screen
And they
and
come in
you're
and
screwed,
they
yeah.
talk about it, and you know that they did it.
They've done it.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure
They've
they're doing it.
spent more time explaining it that they've done it than it really took them, so.
Oh, there was also one question I had on,
Hold on, can we,
Yeah.
we haven't voted on that.
voted on what? Oh, Richard Preble. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I know, we got interrupted.
You made the motion.
I
You
know.
seconded it.
Second. Aye.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
And it was nice that you said stabilization, you said it the exact same way he says it tonight. Arch. He says it like, I
Oh.
just thought it funny.
Just back on the articles, there's a public hearing on October 3rd that the planning board is having for our 2 articles. So I think they sent a letter asking that somebody be present to present the proposals and to answer questions.
I think maybe we all should be there.
I think it would be, I don't feel comfortable talking about the overlay district without having Mike Gutti there. I think he should be there.
I think because it's in, that particular thing is in negotiation, I think we all need to meet before we say anything public.
That's fine.
That's my only concern.
I'm unavailable on October 2nd. I'm having a minor medical procedure. So I
thought you just said the 3rd.
Oh.
Yeah, the 3rd is a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's the Tuesday it's Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, whatever the date is, it's Tuesday night.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So
Well, I'll go if you want to go with it. I can go with you.
We'll go.
If you want to post it for us up there,
Okay.
we'll go. Just remind me, please. But we have a meeting on the 1st anyways, right?
The 2nd?
The 2nd.
Do we have a second, October 2nd meeting?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Well, we have a meeting next week with the moderator and the finance committee, so we're back to back.
Okay.
Okay.
8 articles. Hopefully we can get through it pretty quick.
Yes. Okay.
When we're talking about this kind of stuff, who wants to get together? Because now there might be some questions next week. We should give them something. So who wants to get together with Mike and make sure that we're disseminating the right information about this overlay district?
I don't care.
I can, sure.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
By all that?
Yeah.
There should be something.
Well, yeah. What are the bazillion pages that?
I'll send that out to you guys.
Please don't. I will never read it unless you want to print it for me.
Well, I can
Is it
print
emailable?
Yes.
You can send it to me.
It's sent it to
I
him.
thought I didn't send it to you guys today. I know it came in.
Last thing was the emergency.
I apologize. It just
a lot of
was.
things about Jose coming up this coast.
There's lots and lots of pages. I was trying to figure out what
Okay,
it
can we
was.
move on?
Yep. So
Make a motion to accept the invoice warrants?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I move to approve the payroll warrant.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Places these on future agenda?
There's a few things that need signatures, that's all. That's the only thing.
Okay, so 2 things. One, we already covered. Next week, we're meeting with the FinCom and moderator. I just wanted to confirm that. And then at some point, because I think they did this in other towns in the Pawtucket district, but can our 3 school members come in to give us an update on the building project? Because I know that like the Groveland people, I think they did that for Groveland. No, they can't.
No, I don't think they did.
Oh, they didn't do that? I thought they...
They might have, but I don't know what information they gave them. So,
I think...
remember we talked about this last week?
Right.
That I wanted to have this on the future agenda?
Yeah.
And then I'm the representative to the building. We had a meeting last week on Tuesday.
Yeah.
We got some good information,
Is there enough new stuff to talk
But
about?
there is a plan in place to educate the towns. And as soon as that plan is in place, I'll organize it for them to come in.
Okay, I mean, I could be mistaken, but I think the chairman of the school committee put together a PowerPoint, and they wanted to come in and give it to us. You might check with them.
Yeah, I talked to him about that.
Okay.
But that might have changed since our meeting last week.
Oh. Okay.
I think people, they don't want to I think they just want to make sure we get up-to-date information, and there's not speculative things, and we just start giving out.
It's a process, and they're just at one point in the process, and people ask questions
As
about
soon as-
how much the school costs, where it's going to be located, and they have no idea.
Exactly. And,
Totally understand.
so as soon as that's ready, they're gonna come in. And I'll talk to that chairman again, but that might have changed because there was gonna be a communication subcommittee to be able to make sure that we formulate the thing, and then they're gonna go to all 3 towns.
Yeah, this was as of their last school committee meeting. That's what they said at their last open meeting, I think. I don't know if you were there. Yeah, So if something's changed since their last
Well,
meeting.
Andy's been, Andy is the chairperson. Andy's been saying that since spring.
Okay, but he actually had it done. That's what he said, at least at the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.